If Li Wei hadn't pulled Lu Ding back in time, Lu Ping would have been disemboweled by the saber-toothed tiger, becoming the first evolver to die. Qin Shuang only suffered minor injuries. She stood in front of the two, holding a broadsword identical to Lin Shure's 8-sided Han sword, holding it horizontally to guard against the saber-toothed tiger's sudden attack. Only now did the three realize the terrifying power of a Tier 4 origin beast. Even the official scientific research team hadn't expected a Tier 4 origin beast's combat power to be this horrifying. Its defense was astonishing. Not only were bullets useless, but ordinary swords couldn't pierce it either. A single swipe carried thousands of pounds of force, its bite could crush military-grade special weapons, and its running speed was so fast it left afterimages. Earlier, when chasing the truck, this cunning beast had hidden among the beast horde to protect itself, holding back its full strength. Furthermore, this saber-toothed tiger carried something truly terrifying, the tear suppression of a high-level evolved creature. It made them involuntarily feel fear, losing their will to fight before the battle even began. The saber-toothed tiger slowly approached the three, stopping a few meters away, like a hunter looking for the perfect angle to strike. In its eyes, they were nothing but prey. Qin Shuang bit her lip hard. She knew that even the slightest opening would cause the tiger to pounce and tear them apart. Roar! A tiger's roar echoed. The saber-toothed tiger seemed to lose its patience and lunged straight at Qin Shuang. Asterisk bang! 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 Asterisk. A series of gunshots rang out. Qin Shuang and the other three hid behind a cargo container while several evolvers fired at the saber-toothed tiger. In other positions, some soldiers and evolvers were also taking aim. After disembarking, Qin Shuang had rallied the evolvers who had fled earlier, coordinating with the soldiers to take high vantage points and harass the saber-toothed tiger. The power gap was too massive, they could only attack from a distance. A direct confrontation meant certain death. One evolver had already contacted Lin Tianrui for help. Word was that reinforcements were on the way, but at this rate, they didn't know if they could survive long enough for help to arrive. Little did these evolvers know, at this very moment, a fierce debate was taking place inside the shelter over whether to save them or not. Inside the shelter, Lin Tianrui, with a solemn expression, gathered all the evolvers at the main entrance. Beside him stood Wong and the others. Everyone wore heavy, anxious expressions. An old man whispered, "Tianrui, you have to think this through. That Tier 4 saber-toothed tiger is as strong as they say. If you lead all the evolvers to save them, it'll only result in more casualties." Another big shot from Shangjing chimed in, "Exactly. A good leader must weigh the pros and cons. We can't sacrifice the majority for a few. We will always remember the sacrifice of those soldiers." These words were spoken after receiving Qin Shuang's distress signal and the intel on the saber-toothed tiger's strength. In the meeting room, a heated debate had broken out. Some big shots from Shangjing who had come to Sha City argued that since the saber-toothed tiger was so powerful, sending more soldiers and evolvers would just be sending them to their deaths. It was better to preserve their strength and avenge the fallen soldiers later. On the military side, the majority of officers believed that every soldier was a brother in arms who shared life and death. No matter the cost, they had to find a way to rescue them. Even if we don't go, the saber-toothed tiger will still kill people. If it doesn't kill them this time, will it kill our soldiers next time? Our military absolutely does not abandon a single soldier. Our soldiers can die, but their deaths must have meaning. As the head of the shelter, jointly chosen by Wong and Lin Honglong, Lin Tianrui had made his decision. It was unclear whether Lin Tianrui's words were meant for the big shots trying to dissuade him, the nearly 100 evolvers standing before him, or all the soldiers. His eyes were as firm as stone, his voice echoing loudly. "We will never abandon any comrade. We will never pass up any victory. We will never betray our country. Right now, our comrades are in danger because of a mission. Should we go save them or not?" All the soldiers shouted in unison, "Yes." Lin Tianrui glanced at the crowd in front of him. The old men who didn't want to save them looked awful. Lin Honglong looked at Lin Tianrui and smiled, nodding. The soldiers' eyes were resolute. However, the newly joined evolvers looked anxious and intimidated. Knowing time was of the essence, Lin Tianrui said, We will not abandon any soldier who has bled for this country. Wang Chao, Chun Xiang, move out immediately. Yes, sir. Wang Chao and Chun Xiang each led a team, quickly boarding the vehicles and heading toward the port. Lin Tianrui mobilized almost all the evolvers in the shelter, along with a special forces unit that used to be the military's elite. Going into battle, everyone knew this trip would result in heavy casualties. The old men's faces were pale, but under everyone's gaze, they remained silent. When everyone returned to the meeting room, Qi Yun and a few subordinates approached. Is everyone here? Need any help? Qi Yun remained as composed as ever. This expression seemed quite harmonious and approachable in the apocalypse. After the apocalypse, it was hard to avoid pretending a little. Just the other day, he had rejected Lin Tianrui's request, but now he was offering help, causing Lin Tianrui, the big shots, and the officers to frown. However, Lin Tianrui and the big shots only briefly changed their expressions before quickly calming down. Xiaoguo Wong still smiled and said, "It's nothing. The beast tide has been dealt with. We're just gathering soldiers to hunt that Tier 4 saber-toothed tiger." It was clearly a rescue mission, yet Xiaoguo Wong called it hunting the saber-toothed tiger. Lin Tianrui's eyes flashed, immediately understanding his superior's intention. This was setting a trap. The beast tide has been dealt with. One of Qi Yun's subordinates looked shocked. Glancing at Qi Yun was also startled, blinking slightly. I wonder if I could find out how the beast horde was dealt with. Lin Tianrui smiled, saying somewhat smugly, "We used 30 tons of frozen fish to lure those mutated beasts out to sea, then used an icebreaker to wipe them out all at once. Now, only the beast king, the saber-toothed tiger, is left. Young Master Qi, please relax in our shelter. Once we catch the saber-toothed tiger, we'll definitely show it to you. It's the strongest mutated beast right now, very valuable for research." Qi Yun's subordinate's face changed. Originally, Qi Yun had planned to wait for the shelter and the beast horde to slaughter each other, waiting until both were heavily depleted before making a move to capture that Tier 4 origin beast. He hadn't expected Lin Tianrui to resolve the beast tide so quickly. Hearing that Lin Tianrui was sending people to hunt the saber-toothed tiger he had his eye on, Qi Yun's eyes flashed with anxiety. The smile on his face faded as he said, "A Tier 4 saber-toothed tiger is too dangerous. If you're not careful, many will die. How about I lend a hand? Afterward, how about giving me a share of that saber-toothed tiger?" Lin Tianrui's deep eyes showed a hint of a smile. Looking troubled, he hesitated. "Well, my subordinates reported that the Beast King is extremely ferocious. If young Master Qi gets hurt, it'll be hard for me to explain to the elders of your clan." A fat-faced soldier angrily shouted, "If my young master wants to go, he goes. It's not up to a lowly soldier like you to dictate things." The officers behind Lin Tianrui frowned. A few hot-tempered officers were already glaring at Qi Yun's group, baring their teeth. Qi Yun pretended to scold his subordinate to stop, then looked at Lin Tianrui with a displeased expression. "Commander Lin, I came out this time to train. Getting hurt naturally has nothing to do with you. You also know that if I report the presence of a Tier 4 saber-toothed tiger here to my clan elders, even if we don't lift a finger, you'd still have to give us a share." Hearing this, the officers behind Lin Tianrui could barely contain their anger. Even Xiaoguo Wong, Lin Honglong, and the other veteran generals turned pale with rage. Before the apocalypse, these hidden families had always acted arrogantly. Pressured by their strength and influence, they were sometimes forced to yield a portion of resources to them. Now, just Qi Yun alone was looking down on them, blatantly trying to rob them. A heavily bearded officer couldn't hold back and shouted, "Watch your tone." As soon as he spoke, Qi Yi, standing behind Qi Yun, quickly appeared beside the bearded officer, raising his leg for a fast and powerful kick. If it hit, this officer would definitely be kicked away in humiliation. But just as Qi Yi's leg went up, it was blocked by a hand with distinct knuckles. Lin Tianrui had also moved the moment Qi Yi attacked. Standing in front of the bearded officer, the anger in Lin Tianrui's eyes was no longer fake. "Young Master Qi, this is our territory after all. It's best you keep your subordinates in check." Murderous intent flashed in Qi Yi's eyes. The muscles in his thigh tensed, but he didn't budge. Qi Yi stepped back. Hearing Qi Yun's voice, Qi Yi retreated to his side with a gloomy expression. Qi Yun brushed the hair from his forehead and chuckled. I'll definitely keep my subordinates in check from now on. But what about now? Can we clearly discuss the division of the saber-toothed tiger? Lin Tianrui and the others naturally hoped Qi Yun would take action. This time was primarily a rescue mission, but the saber-toothed tiger had to be killed sooner or later. If Qi Yun helped, they could directly kill it, minimizing casualties. Moreover, they could use this opportunity to gauge the strength of the hidden families. But Qi Yun volunteering was completely different from them begging him. Lin Honglong took 2 steps forward, standing beside Lin Tianrui, and said in a deep voice to Qi Yun, "All right, then let's see who deals more damage to the saber-toothed tiger to determine who gets the bigger share. How about that?" They didn't want to give Qi Yun a chance to exploit any loopholes. Qi Yun smiled confidently and nodded. "Since you agree, let's not delay. Let's move out." With that, he and his subordinates quickly headed toward their snowmobiles. Shortly after, a soldier reported that Qi Yun and his group had left the shelter. Lin Tianrui and the others returned to the meeting room, all looking grim. Even though they had unexpected help from Qi Yun this time, the attitude of Qi Yun and his subordinates was infuriating. Looking at the situation, it wasn't them luring Qi Yun into a trap, but rather Qi Yun forcing them to agree. The bearded officer who was almost attacked clenched his fists in anger. A wet-behind-the-ears brat, acting so arrogant. An old man who used to be a high-ranking official before the apocalypse was also furious. These hidden families are looking down on us more and more. An officer who didn't understand the hidden families asked a question. "Chief, what makes them think we wouldn't dare touch them?" Hearing this, Wong and the others calmed down again. If they dared to confront the hidden families, they wouldn't have had to swallow their anger like this. Lin Honglong's face no longer showed the anger from earlier. His brows were tightly furrowed. These hidden families infiltrated Xia country long before the Great Cold. Their strength is unfathomable. Actually, right before the apocalypse, we had many secret clashes with them. But generally speaking, we lost more than we won. Lin Honglong spoke rather tactfully. In reality, they were almost always at a disadvantage. These hidden families don't have fixed bases. They operate all over the world. Whether it's scientific research institutes, the political arena, the business world, or even the underworld, they have people everywhere. Xia country had powerful weapons at the time, but the problem was how to find targets to attack. It's not that they didn't know these hidden families were malignant tumors, but even if they found a few of their people, they might just be pawns planted on the outside to draw aggro. They also had to consider facing the wrath of the hidden families if they killed those people. There was once a president of the Lighthouse Nation who was assassinated by the hidden families because he took action against one of their people living there. Since then, the president of the Lighthouse Nation was replaced by someone trained by the hidden families. If we can't eradicate them completely, killing a few or even a few dozen people won't solve the problem. The people in the meeting room who didn't know the inside story looked at each other. Wong remained very calm from beginning to end. He sat down, took a sip of the cold tea brought by a soldier, and said, "All right, you just need to remember not to casually offend the hidden families. Let's focus on this rescue mission. Contact the other side immediately and ask about the situation." Qin Shuang and the others were no longer at the old port. They had been pushed back to the logistics warehouse outside the port. The saber-toothed tiger was too strong, forcing them to retreat. As a result, after leaving dozens of volunteer soldiers and 10 Tier 1 evolvers behind to cover their escape, they ran to this logistics warehouse, but the saber-toothed tigers still found them. At this moment, Qin Shuang was also heavily injured. Her left shoulder was torn open, forcing her to hold her sword with one hand. Lu Ding was no longer using a saber. He was holding a spear, leaning against a pillar, his face pale, looking like he could collapse at any moment. Li Wei was lying on the ground for some unknown reason, his fate uncertain. The initial team of 20 evolvers was now down to 3, including Lu Ding. As for the troops Qin Shuang brought from the icebreaker, originally 120 men, only a little over 10 remained. On the ground, there were a few others like Li Wei who had lost their combat ability. The saber-toothed tiger slowly approached Qin Shuang and the others from the main entrance. Its black, yellow, and blue fur was stained with blood. From its unhindered movements, It was clear that most of the blood belonged to others. At this moment, the saber-toothed tiger wasn't in a rush to kill. It was full. The red light in its eyes had vanished. Looking at the humans it had found once again, the tiger's eyes revealed a human-like mockery. Seeing the saber-toothed tiger getting closer, Lu Ding showed a look of terror, his chest heaving violently. His hand holding the spear trembled. He whispered to Qin Shuang, who was standing a meter away, "We can't keep this up. Let this guy rest for a bit. Let's run. They can't escape anyway. Might as well maximize their value." Qin Shuang looked at Lu Ding coldly, the contempt and disgust in her eyes no longer hidden. "Do you think we can outrun this saber-toothed tiger's sense of smell? If you hadn't pushed Li Wei out to take a hit for you, the three of us could have waited for military backup. You're a despicable coward. If you want to run, run by yourself. Let's see if this saber-toothed tiger attacks you first or us." Lu Ding felt a bit uncomfortable. In a life-or-death moment, he had pushed Li Wei, who was protecting him, in front of himself. He didn't believe Qin Shuang wouldn't do the same in a similar situation. Cursing her as a hypocrite in his heart, Lu Ding raised his spear. Naturally, he didn't dare run alone. Earlier, some evolvers couldn't handle the pressure and ran away alone. As a result, they were targeted and killed by the saber-toothed tiger. When Lin Shure found the saber-toothed tiger, he saw the scene of Qin Shuang and the others fighting desperately for their lives. Just as Lin Shure and Demon King arrived between the logistics area and the warehouse entrance, they saw a female evolver whose entire thigh had been bitten off by the saber-toothed tiger, screaming miserably. The female evolver's face was contorted in agony as she struggled violently, trying to pull her leg free. "Save me, Captain Lu. Save me." The female evolver desperately cried out to Lu Ding for help. Lu Ding hesitated, torn between his hatred for the saber-toothed tiger and whether he should fire his gun. But just a second later, the saber-toothed tiger bit off the female evolver's thigh. She fell, fresh blood gushing from the wound, and lost consciousness. The saber-toothed tiger was about to bite again. Qin Shuang gripped her broadsword and slashed at the tiger from behind, but was sent flying by a sweep of its tail. A second later, the female evolver's head was crushed by the saber-toothed tiger's jaws. "What are you doing?" Qin Shuang, her mouth bleeding, crawled up and yelled at Lu Ding, simultaneously drawing her sword, ready to face the tiger. But the saber-toothed tiger didn't press the attack. Instead, it turned its head toward the main entrance. Someone saw a figure appear at the entrance and exclaimed in surprise, "Reinforcements!" The remaining soldiers and evolvers also turned to look at the gate. Lin Shure, holding his massive wheel axe, walked into the warehouse with Demon King. Seeing that the arrival wasn't the military but Lin Shure, Lu Ding felt a brief moment of joy, followed immediately by disappointment and despair. He couldn't help but curse. Why is it him? Earlier, Lin Tianrui had ordered them to protect Lin Shure. Having never seen Lin Shure fight, Lu Ding naturally didn't think Lin Shure could stand against the saber-toothed tiger. Seeing Lin Shure, Qin Shuang's expression softened slightly, but anxiety quickly resurfaced. She kept winking at Lin Shure, signaling him to leave. Lin Shure was solely focused on the saber-toothed tiger. He didn't see Qin Shuang winking. Even if he did, he couldn't leave, because he came here specifically for this saber-toothed tiger. The saber-toothed tiger seemed to sense danger from Lin Shure and Demon King. Swallowing hard, it took a few steps toward Lin Shure and Demon King, spat out the crushed skull, and roared. "Roar ready?" Lin Shure asked Demon King. Demon King replied to Lin Shure with a resolute gaze. As Qin Shuang took her spear and charged at the saber-toothed tiger, Lin Shure followed suit. One man, one dog, one on the left, one on the right. They attacked the saber-toothed tiger with a fierce offensive. Seeing Lin Shure and the saber-toothed tiger engaged in battle, Lu Ding hurriedly told the others, "Run." Saying that, he tried to run toward another exit. But after a few steps, he realized no one else was moving. Lu Ding turned around, only to see the soldiers and evolvers standing still, watching him run. Seeing their expressions, Lu Ding felt ashamed, his face turning angry. "What are you standing there for? Take advantage of them holding off the saber-toothed tiger and run. Are you waiting to die?" An injured evolver, struggling to stand, said, "Captain, that person is the target we must protect." Lu Ding was furious. Mission target. This is different. Why protect an outsider now? In our dictionary, there are no outsiders, only missions. Escorting Captain Lu and the Evolvers is our mission. Protecting Li Heo is also our mission. Lu Ding's actions along the way had completely disappointed the soldiers. One soldier mocked, "Captain Lu left our comrades to die, while Li Heo is blocking the beast for us. We choose to stay. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?" Lu Ding glared, obviously enraged. A lowly soldier dared to speak to him like that. He laughed out of extreme anger. How long can he block that beast king alone? If you want to die with him, stay here. I don't care. Then he turned and left. Not far from the warehouse, he heard the sound of vehicles rushing over the snow. Inside the logistics warehouse, the saber-toothed tiger, enraged by the attacks, let out a roar. Ignoring Lin Shure's axe, it opened its wide jaws and snapped at Demon King's neck. Demon King turned its head to dodge, but the saber-toothed tiger was too fast and still managed to bite Demon King's back. Just as the saber-toothed tiger was about to tear off a chunk of flesh, Lin Shure, gripping his axe with both hands and exuding intense murderous intent, chopped down at the tiger's neck. The saber-toothed tiger was very decisive. It dragged Demon King in a circle, dodging Lin Shure's attack, and took the opportunity to bite off a piece of flesh from Demon King's back. In an instant, Demon King's back was a bloody mess. Right then, the saber-toothed tiger howled in pain. Demon King ignored the pain, turned its head, and bit into the saber-toothed tiger's left front leg. Seeing Lin Shure's axe coming, the saber-toothed tiger ignored the pain and threw Demon King off its body. By the time the saber-toothed tiger stood up straight, a large chunk of flesh was missing from its right front leg. Demon King stood up, glaring fiercely at the saber-toothed tiger, and swallowed the flesh in its mouth. Lin Shure hurried to Demon King's side to check its wounds. Fortunately, he had helped in time. Demon King's back only lost a layer of skin and flesh. A foul wind blew from behind. The saber-toothed tiger attacked fiercely again. This time, it targeted Lin Shure, intending to deal with this annoying human first. But right at that moment, bang, a gunshot rang out. A bullet hit the saber-toothed tiger's nose with precise timing. Qin Shuang, without hesitation, activated her gene lock for the second time and attacked the saber-toothed tiger. Roar, injured. The saber-toothed tiger roared in fury, its red eyes looking ferocious. Although Qin Shuang's spear didn't cause fatal damage, the nose was a vulnerable spot. The injury paralyzed its sense of smell. Lin Shure seized the opportunity, swinging his axe hard at the tiger's leg. The saber-toothed tiger was very fast. As long as he crippled its leg, its speed would drop, making it an easy target. But the saber-toothed tiger reacted with lightning speed, pushing off hard with its hind legs. Leaping high into the air, it dodged Lin Shure's axe and lunged backward, intending to attack Qin Shuang, who was providing ranged support. What a cunning beast. Right then, Demon King charged from the side, its sharp claws slashing fiercely into the saber-toothed tiger's flesh. The saber-toothed tiger was knocked down by Demon King, rolling twice on the ground. Demon King quickly stood up, regrouping with Lin Shure. The wounds left by Demon King's claws on the tiger's body were still there, several jagged, bloody gashes. The saber-toothed tiger was now covered in blood, missing patches of fur, looking incredibly miserable. But Lin Shure knew these were just minor injuries. The most serious wound was the chunk of flesh Demon King had bitten off its front leg, but even that had stopped bleeding. The regenerative ability of a Tier 4 origin beast was truly terrifying. Just as Lin Shure was about to activate his gene lock to coordinate a decisive strike with Demon King, footsteps echoed from the other main entrance of the logistics warehouse, accompanied by a disdainful voice. "Oh, so there are still this many survivors? I thought you were all dead." Qi Yun and his 4 subordinates suddenly appeared at the front of the logistics warehouse. Seeing people arrive, the saber-toothed tiger backed away a few steps toward the door, clearly on high alert. Qi Yun wasn't in a hurry to attack. His gaze swept over everyone in the warehouse, lingering on Qin Shuang for a second before shifting to Lin Shure and Demon King. His gaze lingered longest on the massive axe in Lin Shure's hands. Then he stared at Lin Shure. What a coincidence. We meet again. Lin Shure narrowed his eyes behind his goggles. He didn't know which encounter Qi Yun was referring to. Whether at the Shanghai motel or on the city wall, from Wang Ji, Lin Shure knew of the existence of the hidden families and suspected Qi Yun was one of them. The people from the hidden families had captured Xin Fanren and Lu Siyue and were looking for him. Unsure of their motives, Lin Shure couldn't reveal himself. Lin Shure tried to force a hoarse voice. "Who are you?" Qi Yun stared at Lin Shure, flashing a harmless smile. "We've met before. At the Shanghai motel. Have you forgotten?" Lin Shure was startled, but kept his voice calm. "You've got the wrong person." During his encounter with Qi Yun at the Shanghai motel, Lin Shure had been disguised. At that time, Qi Yun didn't have a photo of Lin Shure yet. It was only later, when he recognized the familiar features in the photo from Lu Siyue, that he immediately remembered meeting Lin Shure at the Shanghai motel. To confirm his suspicions, Qi Yun had his subordinates look for the survivor registration log from that day. But Qin Shuang had erased Lin Shure's registration info to hide his tracks. Qi Yun didn't find Liu Hao or Lin Shure in the log, but this didn't make him drop his suspicions. If given the chance, he would definitely rip off Lin Shure's mask to see if this person was the one he was looking for. But now was clearly not the time. Seeing no flaws in Lin Shure's eyes, Qi Yun didn't look embarrassed at all for mistaking him. He just shrugged and said, "My apologies. Got the wrong person. Since we don't know each other, please leave." Qi Yi drew the curved saber at his waist, coldly issuing an eviction order. "No one is allowed to stay. Leave immediately." Instantly, a terrifying murderous intent shot straight at Lin Shure. Lin Shure frowned. From the murderous aura on Qi Yi, he could sense that this person had killed many people, more than he had. He realized this group was also targeting the saber-toothed tiger. If he wanted to continue hunting it, clashing with them was inevitable. But the problem was, even if they wanted to hunt the saber-toothed tiger together, he wouldn't feel safe cooperating. If he was sneak attacked during the fight, or injured and then exploited by them, the losses would outweigh the gains. Qin Shuang swallowed a gene pill to counter the side effects. Hearing Qi Yi's arrogant tone, she raised an eyebrow and shouted, "Who are you people? What right do you have to kick us out?" Recently, she had been on the icebreaker, so she didn't recognize Qi Yun and his group. With Qin Shuang's intelligence, how could she not see that Lin Shure wanted to capture the saber-toothed tiger? So, hearing Qi Yun and his group say that, she immediately got angry. Before Qi Yi could speak, Qi stepped forward, flashing a sly smile. He looked Qin Shuang up and down, laughing lecherously. "Little sister, we are people you can't afford to offend. If you know what's good for you, get lost. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave even if you want to later." Qin Shuang immediately wanted to blow up. Ahem. Lin Shure suddenly coughed, interrupting Qin Shuang. He signaled to her, "You go first. Saving people is more important." Both he and Demon King, two Tier 3 experts, couldn't catch the saber-toothed tiger. Although that group had many people, there was only one Tier 3 among them. He didn't believe they could easily catch the saber-toothed tiger. It was better to leave first and look for an opportunity to strike later. Who knows, he might just reap the benefits. Although Qin Shuang didn't understand why Lin Shure suddenly gave up, she trusted him completely and obediently nodded. After speaking, she began directing the uninjured soldiers to carry the wounded away. Lin Shure also headed toward the door. Suddenly, he stopped. Qi Yun also turned to look at the door. Perfect timing. A moment later, chaotic footsteps rang out. Wang Chao and Chun Xiang led two fully armed squads of soldiers rushing in from the direction Qi Yun and his group had come from. Seeing Wang Chao, the soldiers in the armory cheered in joy. "Commander!" Wang Chao looked straight ahead at the scattered corpses and injured comrades, his eyes showing a hint of sorrow. "Sorry, we're late." He immediately checked Li Wei's injuries. Li Wei was heavily injured, but thanks to an evolver's physique and the gene pills Qin Shuang had fed him, his life was saved. Wang Chao breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he was alive, with an evolver's physique and gene pills, he could definitely be saved. "Chen Xiang, you take the injured comrades back to the shelter first. Leave this place to me." Chen Xiang was a special forces squad leader. Hearing this, he nodded. He knew the remaining battle wasn't something ordinary people could participate in. As long as they brought these comrades back, their mission was more than half complete. "Be careful." At this moment, Qi Yi suddenly spoke up. The saber-toothed tiger is trying to run. Seeing the growing number of people, the saber-toothed tiger seemed to sense danger and was backing toward the other gate. Kill it, Chi-yun ordered. Immediately, Chi-san, and 4 others rushed toward the saber-toothed tiger. Wang Chao wasn't in a hurry to order an attack. Lin Tianrui's original order was to recover the soldiers and evolvers, especially Qin Shuang, Li Wei, and Lu Ding. They had just run into Lu Ding outside. Now that Qin Shuang and Li Wei were safe, the mission was considered complete. Wang Chao calmly told the squad members behind him, Squad 1, lock down the armory. Squad 2, provide sniper support. Squad 3, fall back. The Evolver squad immediately responded, each taking up their tasks, but their eyes showed little fear. The chief had said they only needed to support Chi-yun, no need to risk their lives. If they saw danger, they should run first. Chen Xiang quickly led the wounded out of the armory. Qin Shuang also followed the group. It wasn't that Qin Shuang wanted to leave, but Lin Shure had signaled her to go. Before leaving, Qin Shuang approached Lin Shure and secretly handed him the manual for operating the icebreaker. Lin Shure held the small booklet in his hand, immediately understanding what it was. He quietly slipped it into his pocket, then stored it in his spatial dimension to avoid losing it. He was also preparing to leave. The regular army was here. It was even more inconvenient for him to make a move. Anyway, the Tier 4 origin beast would reappear sooner or later. He had harvested quite a lot today. There was no need to get tangled up with these two groups. But Wang Chao seemed to spot Lin Shure and suddenly called out to him. What a coincidence. Comrade number 2 is here too. Don't leave just yet. Let's chat for a bit. Lin Shure frowned. He didn't seem to know this person. Captain Wong, we are hunting a beast king. It's not appropriate for outsiders to be here. Seeing Lin Shure being held back by Wang Chao, Chi-yun said in an annoyed tone. Chi-yun naturally realized Lin Shure also wanted this saber-toothed tiger. With Lin Shure here, he had to be on guard against him, which was clearly disadvantageous. Wang Chao approached Lin Shure, his tone friendly. Comrade number 2 is no outsider. We were able to defeat the beast tide this time, thanks to Comrade number 2's help. Comrade number 2, our chief values you very much. He wants to invite you with a high salary to be a special officer for our base. Wang Chao smiled, his eyes crinkling, a gentle smile that completely contrasted with the stern, decisive demeanor Lin Shure had seen the first time. Lin Shure frowned. Special officer? Does the military even have this position? This was the 3rd time Wang Chao had invited him. He had too many secrets and couldn't officially join. He could only refuse again. Unexpectedly, Wang Chao seemed to have guessed Lin Shure would refuse and quickly pulled him aside, whispering, Don't be so quick to refuse. Listen to the conditions our chief is offering first. First, as a special officer, you don't need to stay at the base. You're free and unrestricted. Every month, the military will provide 100 gene pills as your salary. You get them even if you do nothing. If we need your help killing high-tier origin beasts or clearing obstacles, we will consult you. We won't force you. These missions are just part of the agreement. Normally, you don't need to carry out any missions. If you run into trouble, we will support you. How about it? Want to consider it? That was one of the tasks Lin Tianrui had given Wang Chao. Earlier, the video of Lin Shure sending a wild boar flying in front of a large truck had been analyzed, identifying him as a Tier 3 evolver. Not just Lin Shure, but the Demon King under his command as well. The military high command even suspected Lin Shure belonged to another hidden family, but Lin Shure's previous trade of mutated potatoes had eliminated that suspicion. If Lin Shure were from a hidden family, he wouldn't make a trade so beneficial to them. Therefore, Lin Tianrui told Wang Chao that if he met Lin Shure, he should try to recruit him one more time, offering these conditions after the council confirmed them. Even if unsuccessful, it would at least show their goodwill toward Lin Shure. If successful, they would gain a powerful strategic asset. Hearing Wang Chao offer these conditions, Lin Shure was slightly stunned. This was no different from them giving him free medicine. Receiving 100 gene pills a month without doing anything, getting paid extra if he needed to work, having the right to refuse, and not even needing to stay in the shelter. These conditions were entirely tailored for him. Lin Shure couldn't help but feel tempted. But he knew that if he agreed, it meant officially boarding their ship. If they clashed with any faction, he would become a thorn in their side. Lin Shure knew exactly what this meant. He was about to refuse, but thinking that leaving this thorn hanging with the hidden families wasn't good either, he changed his tune. I'll think about it. Who knows, maybe one day he'd have to pick a side. Might as well leave the door open. Seeing Lin Shure didn't refuse, Wong Chao saw hope and was about to continue. Bang! Chi-san was sent flying by the saber-toothed tiger, crashing into a pile of empty crates with a loud thud. While the two were talking, the battlefield situation had drastically changed. Initially, the saber-toothed tiger and Chi-yun's subordinates fought fiercely. Swords clashed, blood splattered. It had to be said, Chi-yun's subordinates were very capable, with rich combat skills and ruthless strikes. But unfortunately, their opponent was 2 tiers higher. In just a moment, they were losing. Chi-san was sent flying, lying flat on the ground, unable to get up. His stomach had been slashed open by the saber-toothed tiger. Luckily, Chi-san was fat and wore thick clothes, so he wasn't disemboweled. Chi-yun drew his sword and joined the fray himself. Because Lin Shure and Wong Chao were watching, Chi-yun didn't dare casually activate his gene lock, and he also had to guard against Lin Shure, so he couldn't unleash his full strength. He looked at Wong Chao, who was talking to Lin Shure, with an annoyed expression. You said you wanted to hunt the beast together, and this is how you hunt. Seeing the time was ripe, Wong Chao put on a serious face and said, Young Master Chi, the chief said your hidden family possesses extraordinary strength. I figured with your strength, dealing with one beast would be a piece of cake. I was just worried the aftermath would cause trouble for you. This righteous and serious remark gave Lin Shure a better impression of Wong Chao. Hearing this, Chi-yun's face darkened. Provoked by Wong Chao, murderous intent flashed in Chi-yun's eyes. He hadn't expected the Tier 4 saber-toothed tiger to be this strong. This was the first Tier 4 origin beast to appear after the apocalypse. According to the Chi family's secret records, Tier 4 mutated beasts possessed extraordinary strength, intelligence, and learning capabilities no different from ordinary humans. Previously, Chi-yun had never truly understood the meaning of extraordinary strength, but after fighting the saber-toothed tiger, he realized his previous understanding was merely superficial. Wielding his family's treasured sword, Chi-yun desperately dodged a fatal blow from the saber-toothed tiger. After chatting a bit with Lin Shure, Wong Chao knew it was time to act. He drew a machete, the tip touching the ground, and said to Lin Shure, Number 2, you step back first. If you've thought it through, come find me at the shelter, or just tell the soldiers. Lin Shure nodded, watching Wong Chao and several evolvers charge forward. However, those evolvers only provided support. Wong Chao and Chi-yun's group were the main force. Wong Chao's strikes were powerful, carrying a military style. Although his swordsmanship wasn't as exquisite as Chi-yun's, he had deep internal strength. Chi-yun's swordsmanship was incredibly intricate. While Wong Chao was talking, Lin Shure's eyes never left Chi-yun's group. Lin Shure had never formally studied martial arts or weapon systems. Watching Chi-yun's swordsmanship, he felt like a door to a new world had opened, realizing that although martial arts varied endlessly, they never strayed from their essence: observation and control. This helped Lin Shure better understand how to use his axe. Before, he only knew how to chop and hack. Now he suddenly realized weapons could be used in many other ways. Right at that moment, Chi-yi, who had just been sent flying by the saber-toothed tiger, charged back into the battle. Lin Shure clearly saw this person take something out of his clothes and swallow it. He guessed it was a gene pill. Unexpectedly, a moment later, Chi-yi stood up and returned to the fight. This regenerative ability seemed to be more than just the medicine. Chi-yi was now holding a black dagger made of an unknown metal, thrusting it straight at the saber-toothed tiger's face. The saber-toothed tiger dodged. Chi-yi changed his thrust into a slash, grazing past the saber-toothed tiger's ear. Half an ear, the size of a plate, fell to the ground. The saber-toothed tiger roared in fury. Lin Shure had been observing for a while before realizing Chi-yi excelled at assassination. Every strike was a killing move, inflicting quite a few wounds on the saber-toothed tiger, coupled with his ghostly footwork. Aside from Chi-yun, the person Lin Shure was most wary of was this guy. Assassins didn't need to face you head-on. They had countless ways to make an opponent die before they could even react. Chi-san's footwork was also ghostly. Although he didn't deal damage to the saber-toothed tiger, his disruptive ability was very strong. As for the fat Chi-Chi, who was almost torn apart earlier, he just tied his clothes around his wounds and continued fighting. His regenerative ability was remarkable. As for Chi-Wu, the only woman, Lin Shure hadn't discovered her specialty yet, but he realized Chi-Yun's subordinates were all very strong. If the tier gap with the saber-toothed tiger wasn't so massive, they probably would have caught it by now. Is this the strength of a hidden family? Lin Shure was secretly amazed. No wonder Chi-Yun was confident in hunting the saber-toothed tiger. By now, Lin Shure had retreated to the warehouse door. He was treating the wound Demon King had sustained from the saber-toothed tiger's bite. Demon King calmly watched Lin Shure clean and apply medicine to the wound. As a wolf king, Demon King increasingly exuded the aura of a leader. With its massive evolved physique, smooth fur, and bright, intelligent eyes, it looked very majestic. But in front of Lin Shure, Demon King was gentle, obedient, and completely unguarded. This made the nearby evolvers incredibly jealous. The evolvers guarding the armory couldn't help but approach when they saw Demon King. Brother Lin, where did you get this battle pet? It's so majestic. So beautiful. If I had one like this, I'd wake up laughing from my dreams. Wake up laughing? If I had this, I could die with my eyes closed. The evolvers' eyes sparkled as they looked at Demon King. In the military, for the past 2 months, they had also been searching for origin beasts to tame as battle pets. Currently, the shelter was taming over a dozen Tier 1 origin beasts. Although they couldn't participate in combat yet, the Evolver Squad had received news that those with outstanding performance could exchange points for the right to use a battle pet. The harsh weather made travel difficult. Having a battle pet meant you could ride it or fight alongside it, which was great. The feeling was like a car enthusiast getting a limited edition sports car before the apocalypse. And Demon King had an outstanding appearance among origin beasts, making them crave it even more. However, they had no intention of fighting for it. Wong Chao had reminded them of Lin Shure and Demon King's tears to prevent anyone from offending Lin Shure. Lin Shure was now an evolver highly valued by the government. These evolvers were filled with admiration mixed with fear. Yeah, that's a Tier 3 giant wolf. Only those of the same tier or stronger can tame this kind of giant wolf, they thought to themselves. The way they looked at Lin Shure was full of respect. Hearing their praise, Demon King held its head high, a strange look of pride in its eyes, which amazed the men even more. Lin Shure answered a few questions about Demon King's origins, then started chatting with them. As someone who had lived 2 lives and had a good reputation within the government, Lin Shure quickly became friendly with these evolvers, calling each other brothers. Soon, he shifted the topic to Chi-Yun's group. Who are those guys? They don't look like your military. One evolver curled his lip, showing disdain. Our commander said they're from a hidden family. The leader is Chi-Yun, and the other 4 are his subordinates, named Chi-E, Chi-San, Chi-Wu, and Chi-Chi. Another evolver pointed them out one by one. Another guy, looking angry, seemingly having been mad for a while, said, "What hidden family? Just a bunch of rich kids. Who knows where they came from, acting like they're here to show off. Our leader has to give them some face. We can't afford to offend them. Just thinking about it pisses me off. Are hidden families that powerful? I've never heard of them before. Never seen them in Sha City either." Lin Shure feigned surprise. An evolver around Lin Shure's age, maybe a bit older, said angrily, "I heard they came from the sea. Haven't been here long. Big bro, you don't know." As soon as they arrived, they turned our shelter upside down, saying they were looking for someone. Every day we go in and out. We have to take off our masks for them to check. Tell me, isn't that infuriating? Once, one of our brothers refused to take off his mask and got beaten up. The commander wouldn't even let us get revenge. What are they relying on? Just as he was about to reveal something he shouldn't, another evolver nudged him. The indignant evolver had to stay silent. Another quickly said, "Big bro, don't tell anyone about this. The commander ordered us not to mention the existence of the hidden families to outsiders." Lin Shure frowned. No wonder he had never heard of hidden families in his previous life. Their strength was greater than he imagined. Even the government had to be wary of them. Naturally, he promised not to tell. While they were chatting, the battle situation changed again. The saber-toothed tiger, surrounded by Chi-Yun and his gang, suddenly used a feint. Bypassing Qi Yun and Wang Chao, it quickly turned back and attacked Qi Yi, who was about to launch a sneak attack. It was a hair-raising moment. Qi Yi's previous injuries hadn't healed. He desperately dodged, avoiding vital spots, but was still bitten on the shoulder. The saber-toothed tiger tossed its head, tearing off Qi Yi's entire right arm and swallowing it. The excruciating pain of losing an arm was not something any human could endure. Qi Yi screamed and fell to the ground. A Tier 2 Evolver's physique kept him from passing out, but right now, he just wanted to faint. The pain made him roll on the ground. The others panicked as well. Qi Yi had the strongest attack power in the group, aside from Qi Yun, and possessed elusive footwork. Losing his right arm was like losing a powerful strategic asset. No one expected the saber-toothed tiger to be this smart. What a cunning beast. Qi-san gritted his teeth, hurriedly assessing the situation. Fall back. Qi Yun no longer had his initial composure. He glanced at the agonizing Qi Yi, his eyes devoid of pity. Having lost his right arm, in his eyes, Qi Yi was already a cripple. Qi Yun said coldly, "Ignore him. Block the saber-toothed tiger." As soon as he spoke, he stepped back a few paces, pointing his sword straight ahead. Qi-san and the others were startled and hurriedly attacked, preventing the saber-toothed tiger from attacking Qi Yun. A second later, Lin Shure felt a massive surge of origin power radiating from Qi Yun. Lin Shure narrowed his eyes. The treasured sword Qi Yun was holding seemed to flash with a cold light. Something was different. But before Lin Shure could figure out what it was, Qi Yun's entire aura changed. Lin Shure clearly felt that Qi Yun had activated his gene lock. Qi Yun leaped up, his long sword thrusting out like a streak of red light. Powerful and sharp, aiming straight for the saber-toothed tiger. This type of attack, Lin Shure had seen Qi Yun use it a few times during the battle. Those times, the saber-toothed tiger had agilely dodged them. But this time was completely different. The saber-toothed tiger saw Qi Yun's sharp sword tip, but before it was even stabbed, it roared in pain. It stood frozen, not dodging at all, and was stabbed in the neck by Qi Yun. Right before that moment, Lin Shure suddenly felt a wave of mental energy spread from Qi Yun to the saber-toothed tiger. Lin Shure's mental power was nearing Tier 4. Being so close to Qi Yun, even without activating his gene lock, he could feel this mental energy. That was a mental attack. Lin Shure's pupils shrank. This time, he had a clearer understanding of how Qi Yun used mental power to attack. In his vague mental perception, he saw Qi Yun's mental power flow from his body, quickly condensing into the shape of a sharp sword. Before the treasured sword in Qi Yun's hand even arrived, the mental sword had already shot forward, piercing straight into the saber-toothed tiger's head. Struck by this mental attack, the saber-toothed tiger's entire body shuddered, instantly plunging into extreme agony. It couldn't even dodge the fatal blow. Immediately after, everyone saw Qi Yun's sword pierce into the saber-toothed tiger's neck, going straight through. The sword, which previously could only scratch the saber-toothed tiger's skin, suddenly became incredibly sharp, able to pierce right through it. One must know, the saber-toothed tiger's strongest defense was its bones and sinews. Qi Yun's subordinates weren't too surprised seeing this, but Lin Shure, Wong Chao, and the other evolvers were different. How could this be? Even armor-piercing bullets only scratched it, yet it was pierced through by a single sword. Everyone coincidentally had the same thought. The scene before him struck Lin Shure like a bolt of lightning. Origin power. When Qi Yun was preparing his move, Lin Shure had sensed something different about his sword. Now, a flash of insight hit his mind, and he finally understood. It was origin power. Qi Yun had infused origin power into his weapon. Astonished, he almost blurted out the words, origin power. Fortunately, Lin Shure was usually quite calm. The words reached his lips, but changed into, holy shit. Lin Shure constantly pondered the possibility of separating origin power from the body. Previously, he only knew how to control origin power within his body. He had tried releasing it from his palms, but the origin power dissipated upon contact with the air, unable to form an effective attack. As for ordinary weapons, Lin Shure had experimented with military knives and daggers, but none could be infused with origin power. Therefore, he didn't test other metals. He was just one person, not a scientific researcher. The hidden clans had to experiment for generations to discover that origin power could be infused into certain special metals. As everyone watched in horror, Chi Yun pierced the saber-toothed tiger's neck, preparing to widen the wound with force. But an immense power suddenly surged from the blade. Chi Yun felt a sharp pain in the hand gripping his sword, forcing him to let go. At that moment, the saber-toothed tiger's eyes were an eerie, blood red. Ignoring the blade still embedded in its neck, it charged madly at Chi Yun, its speed now twice as fast. In the blink of an eye, Lin Shure saw the saber-toothed tiger appear right in front of Chi Yun. Because of the severe neck injury, the saber-toothed tiger didn't open its mouth. Instead, it swung its claws, a blur of motion, striking Chi Yun squarely in the chest. Crack! The sound of breaking bones and Chi Yun coughing up blood was sickeningly clear. Of Chi Yun's three subordinates, only Chi Yi screamed in terror, "Young master!" The saber-toothed tiger's attack was too fast. Chi Yun's men had no time to react, only watching as he was sent flying. Chi Yun crashed to the ground, spitting out another mouthful of blood, his face a mask of agony and disbelief. How could the saber-toothed tiger's spiritual power attack be so fast and so effective? Chi Yun's face was now ashen, pale as paper. He tried to push himself up, knowing the tiger wouldn't stop at just one attack. But as he moved, a sharp pain shot through his chest, making his vision swim. Chi Yun collapsed right where the two strength-type evolved were standing. Seeing this, Wong Chao quickly ordered, "Get him out of here." Chi Yun was from a hidden clan. As much as Wong Chao despised him, he absolutely could not let Chi Yun die in front of him. Otherwise, the shelter would be in deep trouble. But the saber-toothed tiger clearly had no intention of letting Chi Yun go. Its crimson eyes burned with hatred and madness. It lifted a paw, ready to pursue. Following Wong Chao's command, the two evolved immediately dragged Chi Yun back. Chi Yun was hauled away like a dead dog toward Lin Shure. The moment they moved, the saber-toothed tiger landed where Chi Yun had just been, roaring in fury as it watched him being taken away. "Damn it! Die!" Chi-san, a level 7, desperately charged forward to stop the saber-toothed tiger from chasing Chi Yun, frantically attacking it from behind. By now, the tiger was completely berserk. Sensing the attack from behind, it instantly spun around. Its massive eyes were filled with madness, as if it wanted to tear apart anyone who dared to attack it. While the saber-toothed tiger was occupied, Chi Wu, the only woman among Chi Yun's subordinates, rushed to his side. She spoke coldly to the two evolved, who had dragged Chi Yun over 10 meters. After speaking, she pushed them aside and knelt beside Chi Yun. The two evolved were so angry their eyes nearly popped out, but they could do nothing. At this moment, Chi Wu's beautiful face was filled with anxiety and tension. It was as if Chi Yun wasn't her master, but her lover. Immediately, Chi Wu lifted Chi Yun's head, quickly took something from her pocket, and put it in his mouth. This time, due to the distance and angle, Lin Shure clearly saw what Chi Wu gave Chi Yun. It was a white capsule, larger than a normal one. After Chi Yun swallowed the capsule, Chi Wu visibly sighed in relief. "Young master, just focus on healing. I will protect you." Chi Yun closed his eyes without a word, seemingly absorbing the energy from the capsule. At such a close distance, Lin Shure vaguely felt the origin power in Chi Yun's body suddenly surge, then concentrate in his chest. He stared intently. Torn clothes and fresh blood obscured his view, making it hard to see Chi Yun's wound clearly. But from the sound of breaking bones earlier, he knew Chi Yun was severely injured. Yet, a moment after taking the capsule, Lin Shure saw color return to Chi Yun's face. Lin Shure was utterly astonished. What was that thing? It was far more effective than any medicine he'd ever heard of. As if sensing Lin Shure's gaze, Chi Wu abruptly turned her head, her eyes glaring fiercely at Lin Shure. Her voice was sharp and biting. "What are you looking at? Stare again, and I'll gouge your eyes out." Lin Shure narrowed his eyes. Before he could say anything, some of the other evolved couldn't take it anymore. After just saving Chi Yun, the two evolved were berated and shooed away by Chi Wu. The two had already retreated to the gate. Hearing her words, they couldn't hold back their anger. "What's the big deal if we look? You think we'll steal a piece of him? If we hadn't saved him, he'd be a pile of mincemeat by now. What's with the attitude? Should have just let him die." Chi Wu's face instantly turned cold, her eyes venomous. She was about to strike when someone pulled her back. It was Chi Yun, who had woken up at some point. Seeing him awake, Chi Wu's expression changed. "Young master, how are you? Are you feeling any better?" she asked, surprised. "I'm fine." Chi Yun sat up. On the battlefield, Wang Chao, Chi San, and Chi Chi were in a fierce fight, clearly on the verge of being overwhelmed. A flash of dissatisfaction crossed Chi Yun's eyes. He spoke decisively, "Retreat." "What?" Chi Wu was stunned. Chi Yun's sword was still stuck in the saber-toothed tiger's neck. Every time the tiger moved, the wound tore open further, bleeding non-stop. For this battle, Chi Yi was crippled, and the others were mostly injured. With just a little more time, the saber-toothed tiger would surely die. Chi Wu never expected Chi Yun to order a retreat. "I said retreat. Don't you understand?" Chi Yun's initial carefree demeanor was gone, replaced by a terrifyingly grim expression. He stood up, glanced at Lin Shure, and walked toward another exit. Chi Wu hurried after him, shouting to Chi San and Chi Chi, "Retreat!" Wang Chao heard the shout, and his heart sank. He had a bad feeling. Sure enough, a second later, Chi San and Chi Chi, one using force to fly backward, the other retreating straight back, were clearly trying to flee. They were going to abandon him, leaving Wang Chao to die. Luckily, Wang Chao had remained vigilant. Hearing the order to retreat, he also fell back quickly. The saber-toothed tiger, suddenly finding its prey vanished, paused for only a moment before chasing after one of them. Chi San and Chi Chi ran in two different directions, while Wang Chao ran toward Lin Shure. But to everyone's surprise, the saber-toothed tiger didn't chase any of the three. Instead, it headed for Chi Yun, who was quite a distance away. It seems Chi Yun's sword strike had inflicted too much damage, making the saber-toothed tiger hold a deep grudge against him. After losing sight of its immediate prey, it remembered Chi Yun. Chi Yun was nearing another exit of the logistics warehouse when he sensed the danger behind him. Chi Yun turned and saw the saber-toothed tiger charging at him. He frowned and, without hesitation, said to Chi Wu behind him, "Lead it away." Chi Wu's face went pale. She looked at Chi Yun in disbelief. Facing the saber-toothed tiger alone was a clear death sentence. Chi Wu instantly understood that Chi Yun intended to use her as bait. Chi Yun's subordinates were all raised by the clan from a young age and grew up with him. Their bond was deep, especially Chi Wu, his only female subordinate. She had always believed Chi Yun treated her differently. Now, he was abandoning her without a second thought, and it felt like her heart was being torn apart. But the duty to obey her master's orders was deeply ingrained in her. Her eyes filled with sorrow and despair. She gave Chi Yun one last look and said, "Yes." Seeing the saber-toothed tiger chasing Chi Yun again, Lin Shure smiled with satisfaction. Knowing Chi Yun and his group had other motives, he naturally wanted to see Chi Yun die under the tiger's claws. However, he immediately saw Chi Wu draw her weapon and bravely intercept the saber-toothed tiger. Detecting an enemy in its path, the berserk tiger instantly stopped its pursuit and engaged Chi Wu in battle. Lin Shure knew very well that a berserk beast loses its reason and acts purely on instinct. Although he was a bit disappointed that Chi Yun didn't die, Lin Shure didn't give chase. The hidden clans were too mysterious. Without absolute certainty, he wouldn't act rashly and risk exposing his identity. Wang Chao had already retreated to Lin Shure's side. Feeling the power of the berserk saber-toothed tiger's attacks, Wang Chao didn't dare to stay. He shouted an order, "Free retreat. Regroup at the vehicle in the snowfield." All the evolved immediately fell back. Fortunately, they were positioned on the outskirts, making their retreat easy and safe. At this moment, the saber-toothed tiger was fully focused on dealing with Chi Wu, her interference creating a window for everyone to escape safely. Even the severely injured Chi Yi managed to escape the warehouse during this time. After covering the soldiers' retreat, Wang Chao urgently said to Lin Shure, "Comrade number 2, we have to go." Lin Shure hesitated for a moment, then nodded, retreating from the warehouse with the main group. Just as everyone thought Chi Wu was about to die under the tiger's claws, the saber-toothed tiger suddenly roared in pain. Lin Shure looked back and saw that the sword in its neck had been broken, with a third of it snapped off. The wound caused by the broken blade was no less severe than the initial stab, perhaps even wider. The saber-toothed tiger immediately transferred its rage to Chi Wu. At that moment, blood was pouring from Chi Wu's side. 3 deep gashes from the tiger's claws clearly visible. A piece of her flesh, along with her belt, had been torn away. Chi Wu gritted her teeth, clutching her wounded side, and sprinted desperately toward Lin Shure and Wong Chao, her speed even faster than before. The saber-toothed tiger, after recovering, gave chase with insane fury. Run! Wong Chao pulled Lin Shure, and they bolted out at full speed. Dragged along, Lin Shure couldn't help but run too. He then gave a wry smile. Why am I running? The saber-toothed tiger was heavily injured now. He could totally take it down. At this point, the tiger's speed had slowed due to its severe injuries. However, Lin Shure didn't stop. It wouldn't be too late to act after the woman behind him died under the tiger's claws. After all, she was from a hidden clan. It wouldn't be good for her to die at his hands. The Demon King cleverly ran beside Lin Shure, tongue out, tail wagging, leading the way with a joyful expression. It even turned back to look. Chi Wu gritted her teeth against the pain, running for her life. The intense movement caused her wound to bleed profusely. She knew she couldn't last much longer. Just as Lin Shure thought, she wanted to drag him down with her. Having been with Chi Yun for so long. Although Chi Wu thought she understood Chi Yun's character, she was wrong. Chi Yun appeared lively and indifferent on the surface, but he was incredibly ruthless and stubborn underneath. He would never let a victory within his grasp slip away. Seeing the look in Chi Yun's eyes when he ordered the retreat, Chi Wu instantly realized he was wary and suspicious of this person. Now, knowing she was about to die, she had to eliminate this potential threat for Chi Yun. Seeing that she could hardly catch up, with the saber-toothed tiger closing in from behind, the danger grew with every second. Chi Wu gritted her teeth against the pain, drew a pistol from her hip, and fired a shot at Lin Shure's back. She was desperately trying to drag Lin Shure down with her. The moment Chi Wu raised her gun and aimed at Lin Shure, he felt a sharp, needle-like sensation on his back. Without even turning his head, he simply changed his running direction. A second later, a bullet whizzed by and struck the large axe on his back. Chi Wu fired several more shots, but none of them stopped or injured Lin Shure. Seeing that the pistol was useless against him, Chi Wu wasn't surprised. For someone like them who had undergone years of special training, this was entirely possible. She decisively threw the gun away, a look of resolve in her eyes. She took a capsule from her pocket and swallowed it. Lin Shure didn't turn around and didn't see it. This capsule wasn't the white one he had seen before, but a red one. The moment she swallowed the capsule, Chi Wu clutched her stomach and cried out in pain. In a flash, a streak of red appeared in her dark pupils. Her speed also increased noticeably. The Demon King, a few steps ahead, immediately noticed the change in Chi Wu. It turned its head and barked at Lin Shure. "Woof! Master, something's up." Lin Shure and the Demon King were perfectly in sync. A single glance at the Demon King was enough for him to turn and look. He immediately saw that something was wrong with Chi Wu. The red in her pupils grew more intense, and her speed increased until her pupils were completely crimson. Chi Wu's speed had surpassed the normal range of a level 2 evolved, even matching Lin Shure's unactivated state. Lin Shure frowned. This state. Why does it look like she's gone berserk? Just then, the saber-toothed tiger caught up to Chi Wu. It accelerated and lunged at her. Sensing the danger from behind, Chi Wu rolled to the side, dodging the tiger's attack. Then she immediately got up and continued chasing Lin Shure and Wong Chao. No, it's not berserk mode. This person is still conscious. The thought flashed through Lin Shure's mind. Lin Shure wasn't running at full speed. He was keeping pace with Wong Chao. Thus, the distance between him and Chi Wu was closing. At this point, Lin Shure's curiosity had overcome his desire to let this woman be killed by the saber-toothed tiger. He changed direction, splitting off from Wong Chao and running toward an empty area. After Lin Shure ran off, Chi Wu also changed direction, chasing after him. The saber-toothed tiger remained hot on Chi Wu's heels. It all happened in a matter of seconds, but they had already run over 1,000 meters from the warehouse. In just a dozen seconds, Wong Chao saw Lin Shure run off, and his expression changed. He stopped. At that moment, Wong Chao believed Lin Shure was splitting up for his safety to lure the saber-toothed tiger and Chi Wu away. An indescribable feeling washed over Wang Chao. In that instant, the man's eyes filled with respect, gratitude, and emotion. Since the apocalypse began, even among his longtime comrades in arms, he had never seen anyone so self-sacrificing. Even comrades had betrayed each other in the face of death. At this moment, Lin Shure's image in Wang Chao's heart grew even grander. He was convinced that Lin Shure was a true hero, selfless and willing to sacrifice for others. A man you could fight alongside, a man you could trust. Lin Shure, at this moment, was unaware of Wang Chao's thoughts. If he knew, he wouldn't deny it. He and the Demon King ran at the normal speed of a level 3, not too fast, not too slow, maintaining a distance from Chi Wu and the saber-toothed tiger. The area they were running into became more and more desolate, until they reached a completely silent industrial zone. Only then did Chi Wu finally realize something was wrong. Realizing the unfavorable situation, Chi Wu slowed her attack. But the saber-toothed tiger behind her showed no signs of slowing down, lunging toward her. Seeing this, Lin Shure and the Demon King stopped together. Lin Shure surveyed the surroundings and thought to himself, "This spot is pretty good." Chi Wu's face changed drastically. The roar from behind gave her no time to think. She drew her weapon to block the saber-toothed tiger, but the immense force from the impact sent her flying. Chi Wu controlled her posture well, landing in front of Lin Shure with blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. She looked up and gave Lin Shure a sarcastic smile. Immediately, she stood up and charged at him. At the same time, the saber-toothed tiger also lunged at Lin Shure. Chi Wu swung her twin short blades in an arc, slashing fiercely at Lin Shure's neck. "No matter what your purpose is, you will die." Lin Shure leaned slightly, dodging the attack. The Demon King, standing beside him, was no slouch. It immediately opened its mouth and bit down on Chi Wu's arm. But Chi Wu seemed to feel no pain. With one arm bitten, she quickly stabbed at the Demon King's eye with her other hand. At the critical moment, Lin Shure drew a military knife and blocked Chi Wu's blade. The Demon King shook its head and easily tore off Chi Wu's left arm. Fresh blood sprayed from the wound, but Chi Wu didn't flinch. She continued to charge at Lin Shure. Meanwhile, the saber-toothed tiger also lunged forward. "Hold off the saber-toothed tiger. I'll handle this woman," Lin Shure said. The Demon King obeyed, turning to attack the charging tiger. Chi Yun and his subordinates hadn't seen Lin Shure fight the saber-toothed tiger before, so Chi Wu had no idea of Lin Shure and the Demon King's true strength. At this moment, Chi Wu, covered in blood and missing an arm, her eyes crimson, made her once beautiful face look ferocious. She sneered, "What a coward, sending your pet to its death. But even so, you will still die by my hand today." Lin Shure sneered back, wasting no more words, and attacked with his military knife. He didn't use his large axe for fear of chopping the woman into pieces. He still had many questions for her. Chi Wu's face was mocking. Despite her severe injuries, her current state had never felt better. Except for losing an arm and only being able to use one blade, she felt no pain. Her speed and strength were even twice their normal levels. At the same time, Chi Wu knew her time was running out. She swung her short blade, slashing fiercely at Lin Shure. Every attack was lethal, incredibly sharp. Clang, Lin Shure hadn't activated his gene lock, while Chi Wu was in a special state. Their strengths were evenly matched. The sound of clashing weapons rang out continuously. Lin Shure's military knife quickly developed many small cracks. It looked like it would break soon. But Chi Wu's short blade, made of some unknown material, remained unscathed. After another clash of weapons, clang, Lin Shure's military knife broke. Chi Wu's crimson eyes turned even redder, her face ecstatic, as if she could already see Lin Shure dead before her, her eyes filled with triumph and madness. After the exchange, she had to admit Lin Shure was strong. No wonder Chi Yun was wary of him. But without a weapon, he was as good as crippled. "Let's see how tough this guy is now." Chi Wu raised her short blade, tracing a blurry afterimage as she aimed straight for Lin Shure's neck. Suddenly, Chi Wu's vision blurred. Before she could react, her blade-wielding arm was gone. With both arms gone, Chi Wu instantly lost 80% of her combat ability. A normal person with such injuries would have collapsed, unable to get up. But at this moment, Chi Wu felt no pain at all. She stared at the other blade that had suddenly appeared in Lin Shure's hand, then glanced at the broken knife on the ground, her face filled with disbelief. How do you have another blade? Where did you get it? Lin Shure, of course, didn't bother to explain. 2 clean flashes of the blade, and Chi Wu's legs were also severed. This time, Chi Wu couldn't stand at all, collapsing to the ground. Her face still showed the shock from Lin Shure's bizarre blade appearance just now. He clearly only had one weapon. She had clearly broken his weapon. That other blade just appeared out of nowhere. At this moment, Chi Wu even thought the drug had messed with her mind, that she was hallucinating. That was the only way to explain what she had just seen. This was also the typical first reaction of a normal person witnessing Lin Shure use his spatial ability. Lin Shure stepped on Chi Wu's chest, looked down, and said, "Answer a few of my questions, and I'll give you a quick death." He couldn't let this woman live, but he had many questions that needed answers from her. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Chi Wu burst out laughing, her face a mask of ferocious mockery. "I don't feel any pain. Torturing me is useless. You want to question me? Are you even worthy? Anyone who uses the red capsule dies." Chi Wu knew she was a dead woman walking. She would never beg Lin Shure for mercy. She only hated that she couldn't kill him with her own hands. "But, you think you'll live just because I'm dead?" Chi Wu smiled cruelly. "In a moment, you and your battle beast will be torn to shreds by this saber-toothed tiger. You're going to die too. Ha ha ha." At this moment, the Demon King was fighting the saber-toothed tiger in a chase. Lin Shure had ordered it to hold the tiger back, so the Demon King was only harassing and dodging, seemingly on the defensive. Although the saber-toothed tiger was heavily injured, the attack power of a berserk beast was terrifying. Lin Shure naturally wanted to deal with Chi Wu first, then join forces with the Demon King to fight. It would be more secure. He never expected Chi Wu to think a heavily injured level 4 saber-toothed tiger could kill them. If Chi Yun and Wong Chao hadn't shown up unexpectedly, he would have succeeded already. Lin Shure's expression was a bit strange. He knew the woman was telling the truth about not feeling pain. Normally, with such severe injuries, she would have passed out or at least be screaming in agony. Since physical attacks were ineffective against this woman, he would see if he could break her spirit. Lin Shure chuckled, his tone very relaxed. "Speaking of the saber-toothed tiger, I really have to thank you." Chi Wu was slightly taken aback. "What?" Lin Shure crossed his arms. "I was originally planning to wait for you all to leave, then come back and kill this saber-toothed tiger. I didn't expect you to help me lead it here. You've saved me a lot of trouble." Chi Wu instantly remembered that Lin Shure had indeed intentionally led her here. She had a bad feeling, but her words were still defiant. "Kill it? How ridiculous. Just by yourself? Just by me. And my partner. Open your eyes and watch." After speaking, Lin Shure grabbed the giant wheel axe from his back, held it tightly, and walked toward the saber-toothed tiger. The moment Lin Shure moved, the origin power in his body circulated. He opened his eyes, and in an instant, his entire aura changed dramatically. At the same time, the gene lock was released. A powerful surge of strength filled his body. He raised the large axe high, stomped hard on the snow-covered ground, and in a flash, he vanished from his spot and appeared right beside the saber-toothed tiger. At the same time, Lin Shure tried to focus his spiritual power into a sharp point. This was his first time trying to shape his spiritual power, so he wasn't very skilled. But he still managed to hit the saber-toothed tiger's head. Now, with Lin Shure's shout, the Demon King, his perfectly synchronized partner, immediately understood. This time, the Demon King didn't dodge the saber-toothed tiger's swipe. It took advantage of the tiger being under a spiritual attack, lunged forward, and instead of retreating, it advanced, biting down hard on the tiger's foreleg. The large axe swung down fiercely, carrying wind and a sharp aura, aimed at the saber-toothed tiger's head. At this moment, whether because the tiger was on the verge of death or because Lin Shure's control of his spiritual power was still clumsy, the saber-toothed tiger recovered from the spiritual attack. But it was too late. Its initial evasive maneuver was impossible with the Demon King clamped onto its foreleg. A second later, the giant axe's shadow flashed by. A massive head, larger than a cauldron, fell from the saber-toothed tiger's neck. The giant head rolled across the snow, coincidentally stopping right in front of the immobilized Chi Wu. Only when the saber-toothed tiger's body crashed to the ground with a thud did it all end. Everything happened in a flash. Chi-Woo stared at the huge, ferocious tiger head, unable to believe her eyes. Asterisk an illusion. It must be an illusion. Asterisk she and her group, along with Chi-Yun, had failed to take down the saber-toothed tiger. Yet, in the blink of an eye, this beast king was dead. This meant that people like them, trained by the clan since childhood, even the young master they considered invincible, were just like this saber-toothed tiger in front of Lin Shure, easily killed. Among the people of the hidden clans, Chi-Woo had never seen anyone so powerful. At this moment, Chi-Woo couldn't help but suspect that Lin Shure was a Qilin's son, sent out by a hidden clan for training. Only Lin Shure knew that although the saber-toothed tiger's death looked easy, it was not as simple as Chi-Woo saw. That attack was actually Lin Shure's full power strike, coupled with the Demon King's support and the fact that the tiger was already severely injured. That was the only way to end the battle so quickly. But this scene was enough to shock her. Lin Shure, holding the still dripping axe, walked over to Chi-Woo. His tone was cold and arrogant. See, if I wanted to, I could kill you, kill your comrades, and your master, as easily as flipping my hand. Chi-Woo no longer doubted Lin Shure's strength. She trembled with anger. Chi-Yun was the person she protected with all her might, allowing no one to harm him. If you dare harm the young master, the Chi family will not let you go. Lin Shure sneered, his tone indifferent. The Chi family? You think I'm afraid of some Chi family? This arrogant statement further solidified Chi-Woo's suspicion. Only someone from a hidden clan could be so powerful and yet so dismissive of the Chi family. Chi-Woo's eyes widened. You really are from another clan. Are you from the Chen family, the Wong family, or the Li family? Lin Shure's heart stirred. So, this hidden clan is divided into 4 branches by surname. He said coldly, You think I'd tell you? We're all competitors. Chi-Yun is injured. I'll sneak back into the shelter and kill him. Lin Shure was bluffing, deliberately being vague. Throughout human history, no powerful factions have ever coexisted peacefully. It's either open conflict or secret struggles. Being competitors was normal, and Chi-Yun's status was not simple. He was likely a key figure in the Chi family. Therefore, that statement was unlikely to be wrong. As expected, Chi-Woo didn't hear anything unusual. Hearing Lin Shure say he wanted to kill Chi-Yun, she became extremely anxious. Her previous arrogant and vicious demeanor vanished. Please, I beg you, don't harm our young master, she pleaded. Lin Shure squatted down, staring at her with a charmingly evil gaze. His voice was low. You really care about Chi-Yun, don't you? If you don't want me to kill him, then give me some useful information. For example, what are you doing here? This question was deeply layered. It could be interpreted as why Chi-Yun's group appeared at the warehouse, ruining Lin Shure's plans, or it could mean why they appeared in Sha City. Chi-Woo still didn't suspect anything. Hearing this, her eyes showed intense conflict. Only when she glanced at the ferocious tiger head beside her did she speak. The young master came to Sha City to find someone. Lin Shure was secretly pleased. Asterisk, this woman is smart. This is important information. Asterisk, but he kept his expression unchanged. Who? If I tell you, will you guarantee you won't harm our young master? This was what Chi-Woo cared about most. She had to get a firm answer from Lin Shure. Asterisk, this crazy woman is lovesick. Right, lovesickness isn't just crazy, it's stupid. Asterisk, Lin Shure nodded. I always keep my word. Then swear on your family's honor. Chi-Woo insisted. Asterisk, family honor. For these hidden clans, is family honor that valuable? Asterisk, Lin Shure paused for a moment, then said, I swear on my family's honor today. I will do as I say. As long as you don't lie, I will spare Chi-Yun. Only then was Chi-Woo relieved. She closed her eyes, seemingly making up her mind, then opened them and said softly, The young master wants to find a person named Lin Shure. Lin Shure's eyes widened. Which Lin Shure? This is a Chi family matter. Back then, the young mistress of the Chi family ran away with a man, taking the family's token with her, and then disappeared. Later, we received news that a young man whose age and appearance closely matched the young mistress's son appeared in Sha City. So, the young master wants to bring this cousin home to acknowledge his ancestors. Lin Shure didn't believe a word. Acknowledge his ancestors? If he hadn't used his spiritual power to see Lu Siue and Chun Fanrin being tortured that day, he might have believed it a little. If those people truly had good intentions and wanted to bring him back to the clan, why would they treat his foster mother like that? Lin Shure sneered inwardly but didn't expose her. He continued to ask, "You said the young mistress of the Qi family. How can you be sure that person is her son?" Chi Wu's eyes flickered. When the young mistress ran away, she was 3 months pregnant. We based it on his age, plus his appearance. He looks very much like the young mistress when she was young. Lin Shure lowered his head and chuckled, then stood up and looked down at Chi Wu. "If you don't want your young master to live, then I'll kill him right now, while he's injured." "Wait, didn't you say that as long as I told the truth, you wouldn't harm the young master? You're a treacherous villain. Aren't you afraid of your family's shame?" A murderous aura emanated from Lin Shure. Chi Wu looked at him as if he were a dead man. "Yes, I promised. As long as you didn't lie to me, I would spare his life. But is there a single truth in what you said?" Chi Wu's eyes widened. She was speechless. She had just lied. If she could deceive Lin Shure, keep the secret, and prevent Qi Yun from being in danger, she would naturally do it. She just didn't expect Lin Shure to see through it so easily. Seeing Lin Shure about to act, Chi Wu hurriedly said, "Wait." She was already a dead person. She couldn't harm the young master too. "It's like this. Our Qi family has been searching for this young cousin for 20 years, but we haven't found him. Recently, we heard a rumor in Sha City that there was someone who seemed to be the lost descendant of a hidden clan. At that time, the young master was training in Sha City. The family had heard the news and sent us to assist him. That person's information." Lin Shure looked skeptical. "If he's the son of a woman who ran away, why would you go to such lengths to find him?" Chi Wu wanted to lie, but she was afraid Lin Shure would see through it. So she had to hide the most important information. "Because he might have my family head's token on him. Losing the token is a great disgrace, so the family head strictly forbade anyone from revealing it, under penalty of clan law. The family head's token, it would be useless to other clans, but to their own, it was as important as their legacy." This explanation had no loopholes. But after hearing it, Lin Shure suddenly remembered something. His pupils contracted. He didn't have any Qi family head's token on him. Before Lin Mingjin died, besides money and gold bars, he only left him one special item. That was the treasure-gathering pot. Could the treasure-gathering pot be an item of the Qi family? He frowned, feeling that things were not that simple. Chi Wu watched Lin Shure intently. Seeing his expression change, she asked, "What are you thinking?" Lin Shure immediately calmed down. "Nothing. Continue." Chi Wu felt something was off, but couldn't put her finger on it. She suppressed her doubts and continued to talk about discovering someone who looked very much like Lin Shure in Sha City. Qi Yun discovered the fake Lin Shure's flaws, sent Qi Yi to follow him, and found Chun Fanrin and Lu Siyue. Then came the interrogation of Chun Fanrin and Lu Siyue, learning the truth and Lin Shure's real appearance. Lin Shure knew everything that happened after that. His mood was complicated. He had heard Lu Siyue say he wasn't her son, and now he knew the foster father who raised him for decades wasn't his biological father. The feeling of learning the truth this way was completely different from when he had guessed it himself. Chi Wu suddenly coughed and sat up straight, immediately spitting out a mouthful of black blood mixed with many clots. The red in her eyes faded, and her face contorted in pain. "You have your answer. You should keep your promise," Lin Shure said. "I never said I'd only ask one question. Last question. Among your Qi family, what is the highest level of the gene lock someone has reached?" He wanted to know how big the gap was between him and the hidden clans. Chi Wu's suspicion grew. Among the hidden clans, most people knew each other's strength. But she didn't think too much about it, assuming Lin Shure was testing to see if she could lie. She replied, "5th stage. The family head, the strongest in our clan, is at the 5th stage." Lin Shure was startled. Asterisk 5th stage? Someone has actually reached the 5th stage? Asterisk. If the head of one hidden clan was the strongest, then the other 3 clans must also have people of comparable strength. That means there are at least 4 5th-stage individuals. This was just a low estimate. Perhaps some clans even had 2. But Lin Shure quickly calmed down. Those family heads must have cultivated for decades to reach the 5th stage. The apocalypse has only been going on for half a year, and he has already reached the 3rd stage and is about to break through to the 4th. With more time, the 5th stage was just a matter of time. Plus, he had his beast army. When the Demon King and his other trusted beasts reached the 5th stage, their strength would certainly not be inferior to any hidden clan. Most importantly, he had the treasure-gathering pot, this overpowered treasure. As long as he killed beasts, he could upgrade materials indefinitely, and his spiritual power could also grow by being depleted and restored. He would definitely be much faster than them. Thinking of this, Lin Shure asked another question he was very concerned about. After the 5th stage, is there a higher level? Although Li Hao had said the gene lock only opened to the 5th stage, that was before the apocalypse, before the explosion of origin materials. Perhaps at that time, the 5th stage was the level of the hidden clan heads. If someone could reach the 5th stage under those conditions, then now, with origin materials abundant everywhere, it was very likely that the upper limit of the gene lock was no longer just the 5th stage. This time, Chi-Wu didn't answer directly, but spat out another large mouthful of blood. With her last bit of strength, she looked at Lin Shure with a shocked expression. You're not from a hidden clan. This was a basic question that everyone from the hidden clans knew. Lin Shure shrugged indifferently. Well, it's been a while. It doesn't matter. He had already gotten so much information. It was clear Chi-Wu could no longer answer his questions. Chi-Wu's lips moved, but no words came out. Another mouthful of black blood gushed from her mouth, then from her hands, and then her whole body started bleeding. It was a terrifying sight. She stared at Lin Shure like a vengeful ghost, finally dying with her eyes open. Clearly, she had also realized that if Lin Shure wasn't from a hidden clan, then his previous oath on his family's honor was just a joke. After Chi-Wu died, Lin Shure waited a moment, used his spiritual power to sense that no one was around, and then stored her body in his space. After carefully confirming that Chi-Wu was completely dead and her body was stiff, he searched her. Don't get the wrong idea. Lin Shure wanted to see if Chi-Wu was carrying the type of capsule she had given Chi-Yun. After a moment of searching, he found 2 capsules. One red, one white. Lin Shure looked at the red and white capsules in his palm, slightly stunned. What's the red one for? Lin Shure hadn't seen Chi-Wu swallow the red pill, so he didn't know its effect. But the Demon King had seen it. Seeing Lin Shure holding the red pill, the Demon King immediately warned him. Woof, woof, woof. Lin Shure turned around and saw the Demon King showing a rare look of fear. He guessed, this pill is trouble. Woof. Immediately, the Demon King used its claws to draw in the snow what it had seen Chi-Wu do. Swallow that red pill. You're saying she died because of this pill? Lin Shure understood. If it weren't for the Demon King's reminder, he might have just let the pill sit there and used. Now that he knew its effect, he wouldn't use it. This kind of drug could boost a level 2 martial artist's strength to level 3 and make them feel no pain, but the side effects were immense. Just look at Chi-Wu. Such a tragic death, bleeding from every orifice. It was terrifying. Unless he was in a situation with absolutely no chance of survival, he would only use it to take an enemy down with him. Perhaps Chi-Wu also knew she was about to die, which was why she was so reckless, not afraid of him killing her. Storing the pills and Chi-Wu's body in his space, Lin Shure patted the Demon King's head. You did well today. I'll let you have the claws of the level 4 saber-toothed tiger. Hearing saber-toothed tiger claws, the Demon King's eyes lit up. It was about to lick Lin Shure, but was pushed away in disgust. The man and his dog played for a while, then started heading back. Since the Demon King was injured, Lin Shure put it in his space to get friendly with the little lynx. Lin Shure took the clouded leopard out of his space to ride. The moment he got on, the clouded leopard bolted, nearly throwing him off. Today, despite the great harvest, Lin Shure was also very tired. Especially after using his spiritual power to attack the saber-toothed tiger, which had depleted more than half of his spiritual energy. Riding the clouded leopard, Lin Shure already felt sleepy. He planned to rest on its back, but the clouded leopard didn't know. It was the first time Lin Shure had let it out alone and used it as a mount. It was ecstatic. Usually, only the Demon King had this privilege. Wanting to show off to Lin Shure, it ran at a speed of 180 kilometers per hour. A level 3 clouded leopard, although not as strong as the Demon King in other aspects, was much faster. But riding the clouded leopard wasn't as stable as riding the Demon King. The whole way was bumpy. By the time they reached the mountaintop, Lin Shure was about to throw up. The clouded leopard stopped in front of the safe room door, fawning over Lin Shure for praise. A second later, it was recalled into the space by Lin Shure. At that moment, Lin Shure silently vowed never to ride the clouded leopard again. Back in the safe room, Lin Shure turned on the lights, the heater, and then took a cold shower. He casually dried his hair, lay down on the sofa, and began to take stock of today's spoils. The area was filled with beast corpses. Lin Shure scanned it with his spiritual power. Today, he had killed a total of nearly 300 beasts. On the way, he had killed more than 20. Back at the Shanghai Inn, he killed another 60 plus. Then, during the beast tide cleanup at the port, he and the Demon King had hunted over 200. Among them, the most valuable was a level 4 saber-toothed tiger. There were also 28 level 3 beasts and 53 level 2 beasts. This harvest was so large it would normally take several months of hunting to achieve. After taking stock, Lin Shure let out a long sigh and fell asleep. When he woke up, it was already dark outside. His stomach was growling. He went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. He hadn't forgotten Wong Leong. He had prepared enough food and water for him for these few days, and even left a level 2 giant wolf to guard him. Wong Leong was temporarily in the basement of that villa, which was very safe. There were still a few scattered beasts in Sha City now. He planned to hunt a few more in 2 days before taking Wong Leong to the shelter. Tonight, Lin Shure prepared an incredibly lavish dinner. The Demon King and the other beasts had worked hard all day. He couldn't treat them poorly. Everything was made from freshly killed beast meat. The wolf pack now had a total of 79 members, requiring a huge amount of food. Lin Shure threw them 10 level 1 beasts. If that wasn't enough, he'd throw more. Then, he prepared grilled meat for the clouded leopard and the giant panda. This time, Lin Shure was very generous, using the meat of the level 3 beasts he hunted today. Grilled level 3 beast meat, even without seasoning, was fragrant and delicious. The meat was sweet, tender, and a true delicacy. Even the picky long-armed ape, which only liked to eat mutated plants, ate several large pieces. He also prepared milk for the giant panda and the little lynx. The little lynx seemed to have never eaten meat before. It looked a little scared of the meat. Lin Shure placed a piece of fresh meat the size of a wash basin in front of it, but it just looked and didn't dare to eat. Lin Shure didn't force it. Beasts have an instinct to investigate things containing origin power. Sooner or later, it would eat. Sure enough, not long after, the little lynx looked around for a while, then carefully nibbled a piece of meat. After that, it ate with more and more relish. After preparing food for the entire beast army, Lin Shure let the Demon King out. Currently, the Demon King's body was too large for the safe room. Lin Shure had to move some furniture in the living room into his storage space to make room for the Demon King to lie down. He prepared dinner for himself and the Demon King. He took a few pieces of thigh meat from the saber-toothed tiger, grilled them for the Demon King, and even brushed them with honey. For himself, he made stir-fried tiger meat with green peppers, white cabbage, and cooked a large pot of rice. It took Lin Shure quite a while to finish cooking. The Demon King ate 3 large pieces of grilled meat. Lin Shure then gave it an entire hind leg of the saber-toothed tiger. Only then did the Demon King seem full. Not long after eating the level 4 saber-toothed tiger meat, Lin Shure felt a warm current spreading through his body, similar to the feeling of his origin power growing. But his origin power was already full. Lin Shure doubtfully opened the treasure-gathering pot's personal interface. Host data name, Lin Shure. Age, 20. Gender, male. Gene lock evolution level, stage 3. Internal origin power, 3,015 units. Spiritual power, 217 units. Host's origin power has met the standard for the next evolution. Reminder, 300 units of spiritual power are required for promotion. Currently lacking 83 units. Lin Shure looked at the personal interface, and his eyes suddenly lit up. His origin power, which had already reached the maximum of 3,000 points, had actually increased to 3,015 points. Asterisk eating level 4 beast meat can break the current origin power limit? Even my spiritual power increased by 1 point. Asterisk. Lin Shure thought for a moment. The amount of saber-toothed tiger meat he ate just now wasn't much, probably about 3 caddies. To verify, Lin Shure took out another 3 caddies of meat from his storage space, boiled it, and ate it. Even though it was just boiled in plain water without any seasoning, the meat was still delicious. Lin Shure ate one caddy, then stared at the treasure-gathering pot's interface. A dozen minutes later, Lin Shure looked at his personal interface again. The 3,015 units of origin power had become 3,020 units. His spiritual power, however, hadn't increased. Although he was already very full, Lin Shure ate the remaining 2 caddies. This time, his origin power increased by 10 units, and his spiritual power also increased by 1 point. Lin Shure was overjoyed. 3 caddies of meat gave him 15 units of origin power and 1 unit of spiritual power. In other words, each caddy of saber-toothed tiger meat increased his origin power by 5 units, and every 3 caddies increased his spiritual power by 1 unit. Previously, Lin Shure had also tried eating the meat of level 1 and level 2 beasts. Although it did increase his origin power slightly, it was negligible. Moreover, once his origin power reached the maximum for evolution, it wouldn't increase any further. He never expected that level 4 meat could break the current origin power limit and continue to increase it. Lin Shure quickly understood. The value of this saber-toothed tiger meat wasn't in increasing origin power, but in increasing spiritual power. Because even if he could increase his origin power, he was about to reach level 4. At that time, absorbing gene pills or beasts could quickly increase his origin power. But there was no quick way to increase spiritual power. He was now only 82 points of spiritual power away from unlocking the 4th stage of the gene lock. If he only trained his spiritual power without sleeping, it would still take 11 days. But with this meat, the time could be significantly shortened. Lin Shure tried again. Using the treasure-gathering pot to directly absorb origin power, each caddy yielded 6 points, more than eating it directly, but it couldn't increase spiritual power. In other words, spiritual power could only be increased by eating. Lin Shure calculated. With his current appetite, a meal of about 6 or 7 caddies of meat was already very filling. This was with his enhanced physique. Before the apocalypse, he could eat 2 or 3 caddies at most. Including 3 main meals and a late-night snack, he could eat a maximum of 28 caddies of saber-toothed tiger meat. This meant he could increase his spiritual power by 7 units per day. And training his spiritual power all day could increase it by a maximum of 8 units. A total of 15 points. The speed was twice as fast as before. It would have originally taken 11 days to level up. Now, it would take less than 6 days to unlock the 4th stage gene lock thanks to this saber-toothed tiger meat. Lin Shure clenched his fists, his heart filled with excitement. He walked into the storage room. He took out all the saber-toothed tiger meat from his space and placed it on an industrial scale. The saber-toothed tiger had been butchered by Lin Shure. Minus 1 leg and some meat, it still weighed 536 caddies. Each caddy increased origin power by 5 points. That's 2,680 points. Every 3 caddies of meat increased spiritual power by 1 point. A total of 178 points. What a surprise. Lin Shure thought to himself that he must not miss any level 4 beasts in the future. He also didn't know if the meat of all level 4 beasts increased spiritual power or only certain species. This question would have to be researched later. The Demon King seemed to have eaten too much, and on top of being tired all day, it was a bit sleepy. Lin Shure had already put it back into the space. Returning to the bedroom, Lin Shure sat on the bed and began to cultivate his spiritual power. He had already taken a nap in the afternoon, and he had eaten his fill. His spirit was very high right now. He didn't plan to sleep tonight. After depleting his spiritual power, he had to rest for 3 hours before he could continue training. So, overnight, Lin Shure increased his spiritual power by 3 points. He ate another 6 caddies of saber-toothed tiger meat for a late-night snack, gaining another 2 points. A total increase of 5 points. After a night, not only was Lin Shure not tired, but he felt more energetic than ever, probably thanks to the effects of the level 4 beast meat. He was now only 79 points of spiritual power away from unlocking the 4th stage gene lock. Breakfast was still saber-toothed tiger meat. After preparing his own breakfast, Lin Shure saw his spiritual power increase by another 2 points on his personal interface. He then happily prepared breakfast for the Demon King and the other beasts. Unexpectedly, as soon as he connected his consciousness to the living space, he discovered something unusual. In the space, because Lin Shure had planted a few types of trees, a fairly large area had been sectioned off. But the living space was as large as a football field, so the partition didn't affect the beast's activities. As the number of beasts in the space grew, especially the wolf pack, the demon king, the long-armed ape, and the clouded leopard had rearranged the space. There was a wooden house, a small hill, a large mud pit, a barren patch, and a simple large staircase. After bringing the beasts into the space, the demon king would lead them in play to burn off their excess energy. But today, the demon king was nowhere to be seen in those places. The beasts were huddled behind a small hill, trembling as they looked in one direction. Whether the small hill could hide them or not, they were practically crammed together, as if only then could they feel safe. Lin Shure saw them staring intently at that spot, and his heart pounded. The demon king. At this moment, the demon king was lying in its large doghouse, and its condition was clearly not good. The demon king's usually soft fur was now standing on end. Its strange eyes continuously emitted a red light. Even its blue eye was tinged with purple from the red light. The demon king was panting heavily, its breaths so loud they echoed throughout the space. With each breath, its body expanded, accompanied by the sound of its bones cracking. With each expansion, its body grew a little larger. Even the originally spacious doghouse was being deformed by it, on the verge of being destroyed at any moment. It's evolving. Lin Shure's expression changed slightly. He had seen the demon king evolve before, but that time it was very smooth. The demon king just slept through it. Not like now. The demon king seemed to be in great discomfort. And the other beasts, including the clouded leopard and the giant panda, were all huddled in a corner, not daring to breathe loudly, as if terrified of the demon king's current state. From the demon king's open mouth, Lin Shure could clearly see its teeth were changing, becoming longer and sharper. Lin Shure had no doubt that with those teeth, the demon king could easily bite off an elephant's leg. The fangs also made the demon king's canine face larger, no longer resembling a dog, but more like a wolf. Is it transforming? While Lin Shure was worried about the demon king's state, but didn't dare to disturb it, the wooden house finally couldn't withstand the demon king's growing body. It emitted cracking sounds from being overloaded. A second later, with a loud bang, the wooden planks shattered and fell. The doghouse collapsed, and the demon king's transformation seemed to be complete as well. The demon king stood up, shaking off the wood fragments. Only then did Lin Shure get a clear look at the demon king's form. The fur on its body had returned to normal. Its already fluffy coat was now even thicker. Its eyes had also returned to blue and pink, its canine eyes unusually sharp. However, the biggest change was still the demon king's body. The demon king, which was originally 2 meters tall when standing on all fours, was now nearly 3 meters tall. Its front and hind legs were thicker and longer, with an incredibly powerful grip on the ground. Whoa! The demon king let out a resounding howl. That howl seemed to carry some kind of magic. All the beasts in the area came before the demon king and bowed their heads. Even the large panda, which usually played with the demon king, had to bow its head. And now, the demon king was the true king of this pack. Demon king. Lin Shure hesitated for a moment, then entered the space. Hearing Lin Shure's voice, the beast king aura on the demon king instantly vanished, and it returned to its obedient dog-like appearance. Woof woof. Master, Lin Shure secretly sighed in relief. The evolution hadn't affected the demon king's personality. At this point, Lin Shure had left the safe house. With just a thought, the demon king appeared on the snow-covered ground. Seeing Lin Shure, the demon king immediately rushed over. Just like always, it wanted to play with Lin Shure. But when he saw the demon king charging, Lin Shure muttered, "I'm done for." Sure enough, the demon king was not only bigger now, but also 3 times heavier than before, maybe even more. Lin Shure was unsurprisingly tackled to the ground by the demon king. The demon king licked Lin Shure's face for a while before he finally managed to push it off. Lin Shure took a towel from his space, wiped the nearly frozen saliva off his face, and said unhappily, "Stop licking, or next time I'll rub chili on my face." Woof! The demon king rode in the snow. Even with chili, I'll still lick. Lin Shure gave a wry smile, thinking to himself that sooner or later he'd have to teach the demon king a lesson, to let it know it shouldn't lick people. He touched the demon king's leg. It was very solid, the bones twice as strong as before, incredibly powerful. Combined with its paws, which were now larger than a wash basin, getting stepped on by it would definitely be more than just being sent flying. Your paws are really solid, Lin Shure said, looking up at the Demon King. Standing in front of it, Lin Shure had to tilt his head back to see its face. The Demon King looked down at its paws with a satisfied expression. It won't be easy to break them in the future, the Demon King barked. Lin Shure then tried to ride on its back. Its fur was thicker than before, making it very comfortable to ride. Patting the Demon King, Lin Shure got down to prepare its breakfast. Today, the Demon King would eat a level 3 beast. He had fed it saber-toothed tiger meat before to help it quickly evolve to level 4. The rapid evolution exceeded Lin Shure's expectations. Now that it was complete, there was no need to waste more saber-toothed tiger meat. The Demon King's breakfast was a level 3 wild boar. Lin Shure burned off the boar's hide before letting the Demon King eat it outside the safe room on the snow. He then went back inside to prepare items to throw into the beast's storage space. When his consciousness re-entered the space, Lin Shure was surprised to find something interesting. Because his attention had been drawn by the Demon King, he hadn't noticed before. The level 1 wolf pack in the space had 2 members advance in one night. The little lynx, after eating the level 3 beast meat yesterday, had also advanced to level 2. It was now as big as the pre-apocalypse Demon King. Lin Shure took the little lynx out of the space and held it in his arms. Among the beasts in the space, only the little lynx was suitable for keeping indoors. The cat was very well behaved. Perhaps due to its special nature, when Lin Shure held it, it remained quiet and didn't struggle. Its golden eyes looked at Lin Shure, containing a spark of intelligence just like the Demon King's. Lin Shure had suspected this was a cat with a talent for spiritual power. He just needed to figure out how to develop its combat abilities. While preparing cooking ingredients, Lin Shure took out his tablet and opened the 9-year compulsory education program that the Demon King had watched 2 or 3 times. The little lynx was immediately attracted by the teacher in the video, jumping onto the sofa and watching intently. Preparing breakfast wasn't complicated. Milk for the giant panda and the little lynx, fruit for the long-armed ape. The rest of the beasts ate raw meat. Except for the milk, Lin Shure could transfer everything else from the vacuum space to the living space with just a thought. After sorting out the beast's food, Lin Shure didn't plan to stay in the safe room to train his spiritual power. He was going hunting again. Currently, the beasts in Sha City had no beast king to command them. They were in chaos and posed no threat. If he didn't kill them now, after the beast tide passed, he would have to go to the mountains to search for them, and he might not find any. After a beast tide, there would be fewer beasts in the mountains for a short period. It might take several months for a large-scale one to appear again. Therefore, it was necessary to take advantage of the non-threatening beasts in the city to stock up. Copying could solve the beast's hunger problem, but the copies had no origin power and couldn't promote the evolution of the beast army. To make the beast army strong enough to fight against the hidden clans, he had to let them evolve continuously. After getting ready, Lin Shure rode the Demon King, and the man and dog rushed down the mountain. Yesterday was a snowstorm. Today was a sunny day. Arriving at Shijiao Town, Lin Shure saw that Sha City was very lively today. The government had sent many soldiers and evolved to hunt the scattered beasts in the city. Just as he entered the city, Lin Shure encountered a 10-person team of soldiers and evolved hunting a level 1 monkey. It seems the government leaders had the same idea as him. The team's battle was about to end. A few gunshots rang out, and the monkey fell into the snow. With special armor-piercing rounds, the soldiers just needed to ensure their safety and then shoot the beasts. If there was danger, the evolved would step in. Everyone in the team was happy about the contribution points they were about to receive when one of the evolved suddenly saw Lin Shure in the distance. He looked at Lin Shure excitedly. Hiroli, the one who shouted, was one of the people who had spoken to Lin Shure at the logistics warehouse yesterday. This person's name was Huang Leong. From a distance, Huang Leong saw the giant Demon King. Although the Demon King was much larger, its unusual eyes were still easy to recognize. Huang Leong recognized it at a glance. Ignoring the others, Huang Leong jogged over, stopping a few meters from Lin Shure. With a friendly expression, he waved and greeted. Hiroli, good morning. Lin Shure raised an eyebrow, wondering where this title came from. But Huang Leong quickly explained its origin. It turned out that yesterday, after Lin Shure led Chi Wu and the saber-toothed tiger away, Wang Chao returned to the military camp on the snowfield. He insisted on waiting, refusing to leave, saying he had to wait for someone. When his comrades asked why, Wang Chao recounted how Lin Shure had led the saber-toothed tiger away during the crisis. Wang Chao was very clever. He didn't mention that Chi Wu was also led away by Lin Shure to avoid unnecessary trouble for him. Only that the saber-toothed tiger had killed Chi Wu, and the soldiers and other evolved had caught up with Lin Shure and Wang Chao. Lin Shure had led the saber-toothed tiger away to ensure Wang Chao's safety. This earned him the immense respect of both the soldiers and the evolved. Back at the shelter, this story was passed around by the soldiers and evolved, quickly spreading throughout the entire unit. Everyone knew about Hero Li saving Wang Chao. Those who knew the full story added that Lin Shure had also saved Wan Qing, helping them complete the mission to repel the beast tide. Lin Shure's reputation in the unit soared. There were even rumors that Lin Tianrui wanted to appoint Lin Shure as a special officer of the unit. In just one day and one night, everyone in the shelter knew the name Hero Li, and the story of Lin Shure hadn't even fully spread yet. In a few more days, perhaps even the citizens of Sha City would hear the name Hero Li. Hearing Huang Liang's explanation of the title Hero Li, Lin Shure didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had no intention of saving Wang Chao yesterday. He never expected to accidentally become a hero. He could only say it was a happy accident. The title didn't affect him. He wasn't a good person, and he wouldn't go easy on someone just because they put him on a pedestal. Human nature is inherently evil, and the apocalypse only made it more so. And he was very good at fighting fire with fire. Huang Leong seemed to remember something. "Oh right, Hero Li. Our leader said that if we saw you, we should tell you that you can go to the Dongjiao shelter anytime to claim your reward." Only then did Lin Shure show some interest. "I know." After speaking, he had the Demon King go around the group and head off into the distance. After Lin Shure left, a new soldier came up to Huang Leong and asked excitedly, "Brother Huang, that person, is he?" The overwhelming power from Lin Shure and the Demon King was too strong. Although they were curious, they didn't dare to get close. Huang Leong smiled proudly and nodded. "Yes, that's the person I told you about yesterday. Hero Li, the one who saved Commander Wang Chao and Wan Qing. It's really him. That big wolf is his battle beast. So cool. And he's handsome too. Did you guys see the huge axe he was carrying on his back? It looks even heavier than mine. If he swung that, it would be epic. I saw it. I saw it too. He really is the one who saved Captain Wong." Another person lightly touched Huang Leong, saying with admiration, "You dare to talk to him? That wolf is so big, it could swallow a person in one bite. You actually dared to get that close." Huang Leong, surrounded by soldiers and comrades, looked even more pleased, his face flushed red. He said smugly, "Don't you know who I am? Let me tell you, I talked to Hero Li yesterday. I could tell then that he was a talented person. Hero Li is very easy to talk to. Don't be afraid of that battle pet. That wolf is very smart, not fierce. It won't attack people on its own." After speaking, Huang Leong touched his chin, looking thoughtful, and whispered, "But I don't know if I'm misremembering. I feel like that wolf is much bigger than yesterday." Lin Shure rode the Demon King, clearing out beasts along the way, and encountered many soldiers and evolved. When these soldiers and evolved saw Lin Shure, although they didn't rush up like Huang Leong, they all stopped and saluted him. Even when Lin Shure and a team of soldiers discovered the same beast, those soldiers would salute and then turn to leave. Giving so many beasts to Lin Shure. Who is that person? The monster he's riding is so scary. In the soldier team, a few survivors asked curiously. The government had just issued a policy to accept the survivors of Sha City into the shelter. This beast tide had killed countless people, but it also spurred the emergence of many new high-level evolved. After discussion, Lin Tianrui and the others decided to accept these survivors into the shelter and also implement a new policy there. If another beast tide came in a short time, the survivors of Sha City might be almost wiped out. Today, the soldiers went out to search for beasts and survivors. This team had 6 survivors, one of whom had just broken through to level 1. The one who spoke was the mother of the level 1 breakthrough. Her family of 3 had all survived the beast tide. The mother's name was Sun Hong, the father's was Wong Lei, and the young man who broke through was named Wang Xiaoming. The evolved leader whispered, "Don't talk nonsense. That's that man's battle pet. A high-level mutated beast that has been tamed." Battle pet? What's a battle pet? Someone asked, not understanding. Those man-eating beasts can be tamed? Wang Xiaoming's mother, Sun Hong, emphasized, her eyes darting around, her expression thoughtful. Wang Xiaoming said disdainfully, "I'm also an evolved. I'll be as strong as him in the future." Before the apocalypse, Wang Xiaoming failed to get into college and stayed at home doing nothing, not looking for a job, just playing games or reading novels all day. Now that he found he had special abilities, he could finally hold his head high. He was very pleased with himself. Hearing Wang Xiaoming's nonsense, the soldiers and evolved all showed strange expressions. Some even rolled their eyes at him, because they knew Lin Shure was already a level 3 evolved. It was very difficult for a normal level 1 evolved to break through to level 2, let alone level 3. It was a distant dream, but no one said anything. Young people had to go through hardships to mature. Really, the other survivors in the team had no idea that evolved were divided by strength. As long as they were evolved, they were very powerful in their eyes. For a better life in the shelter later. They flattered him, saying, "That's right, Xiaoming is so amazing. He'll definitely be an officer in the army in the future. I really admire you for having such a capable son. If only my son were still alive. Xiaoming, if you don't mind, I'll call you Big Brother from now on." The survivors chimed in one after another. They praised Wang Xiaoming to the skies. Wang Xiaoming's face was full of pride. He looked in the direction Lin Shure and the Demon King had left and whispered, "Humph, don't think I don't know you look down on me. I, Wang Xiaoming, will definitely be stronger in the future. Just you wait." Along the way, Lin Shure saw groups of survivors being found by soldiers and joining the protected convoy. He didn't know how they planned to settle these people. Lin Shure didn't want to interfere in other people's business, just observed and moved on. With the Demon King leading the way, Lin Shure had killed over 70 beasts, including 13 level 2s and 2 level 3s. After killing them, he would store them in his private space in a secluded place. Just like that, he headed straight for the villa where Wong Leong was hiding. Lin Shure planned to claim his reward today and settle Wong Leong at the same time. The level 2 wolf Lin Shure had assigned to guard the basement was still on duty at the entrance to Wong Liang's cellar. Initially, Lin Shure was prepared for this wolf to run away, and he had the Demon King memorize its scent. But he had worried too much. This wolf was one of the first wolves the Demon King had subdued, and it had a pretty good relationship with Lin Shure. Seeing Lin Shure arrive, it was very happy, even rubbing against him like the Demon King often did. Lin Shure rewarded it with a piece of level 3 beast meat, encouraged it a little, and then stored it in his private space. Then he knocked on the secret cellar door. Asterisk, thump thump. Thump thump thump. Asterisk, this was the signal between Lin Shure and Wong Leong. Hearing the knock, faint sounds came from the cellar, followed by the sound of the door opening. Wong Leong carefully pushed the door open a crack, his eyes peeking out. After confirming it was Lin Shure, he opened the door fully. Wong Leong was overjoyed. "Big brother, you're back." "Yeah, let's go. I'll take you to the official shelter," Lin Shure said. Yes, I'll pack my things right away." After speaking, he went back into the cellar. Not long after, Wong Leong came out of the cellar with a backpack. On the ground, "Big brother, this is the bread and water I haven't finished, and the candles and matches. For you." As soon as Wong Leong came up, he took out the items Lin Shure had left for him in the cellar from his backpack. Of the bread Lin Shure gave him, Wong Leong had only eaten 2 pieces. The water was half a bottle left. The candles hadn't been used at all. Having lived through the long cold, Wong Leong knew how precious these things were. Even though Lin Shure said they were for him, he didn't dare to eat his fill at every meal. He didn't even dare to light the candles. The cellar was very dark. Among the survivors, there were a few who were afraid of the dark. Lin Shure looked at the items in Wong Liang's hands, was silent for a moment, then casually waved his hand and said, "I won't take back what I've given. All right, let's go." After speaking, he walked straight out of the villa. When Wong Leong came out, he saw Lin Shure already sitting on the Demon King's back, with a leopard waiting in the snow beside them. Lin Shure glanced at Wong Liang's slightly red eyes, pretending not to notice he had just been crying, and pointed to the leopard beside him. You ride it. Get on and hold on tight. It runs very fast. Wong Leong nodded vigorously and carefully climbed onto the clouded leopard's back. After Wong Leong was seated firmly, Lin Shure reminded him, hold on tight. Yeah. The moment he finished speaking, the clouded leopard bolted, disappearing in a flash. Wong Liang's terrified scream echoed in the wind. The Demon King quickly caught up. After reaching level 4, the Demon King's speed had far surpassed the clouded leopard, which was known for its speed. It was even faster. Soon, he caught up to the clouded leopard. A few minutes later, they arrived just outside the base. The clouded leopard stopped. Wong Leong shakily got off its back, but couldn't stand steady, falling to his knees in the snow with a thud. Just as he was struggling to stand up, Wong Leong retched and threw up. Luckily, he didn't vomit on the clouded leopard, or it would have been furious. The clouded leopard quickly moved away, came to the Demon King's side, looked at Wong Leong with a disgusted expression, and then whispered to the Demon King, as if to say, "Look at that guy? So disgusting." The Demon King slapped the clouded leopard, signaling it to get away from him. The main gate of the base was still closed today. As soon as Lin Shure arrived, he was spotted by the guards on the wall, causing a small commotion. "Quick," informed the leader. "Hero Li is here." A soldier who ran quite fast took the task and rushed to an office, knocking loudly on the door. From inside the room came Lin Tianrui's authoritative voice, "Come in." The soldier entered, saw that Wang Chao was also there, and hurriedly said, "Reporting leader." "Hero Li." The word hero almost slipped out. He quickly corrected himself. "Li Heo is here." "Li Heo? So soon?" Lin Tianrui immediately stood up from his desk, which was piled with documents. Wang Chao had already rushed out like the wind. Lin Shure didn't wait long outside the base before the gate opened. Wang Chao rushed out first. Seeing Lin Shure, Wang Chao seemed very excited. He looked Lin Shure up and down, and finally said happily, "That's great. You're okay." Earlier, seeing the saber-toothed tiger chasing Lin Shure, Wang Chao thought Lin Shure was leading it away to save him, so he was very worried about Lin Shure's safety. Afterwards, he waited for a while but didn't see Lin Shure. Seeing that there were many comrades around, he returned to the base. Now, seeing that Lin Shure was unharmed, Wang Chao breathed a sigh of relief. If Lin Shure had died saving him, Wang Chao would probably have had many sleepless nights, and his guilt would have been hard to bear. Lin Shure saw Wang Chao's expression. Although he understood the reason, he didn't expose it. He just accepted Wang Chao's concern and gratitude. After all, he had saved him in a way. Lin Shure said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I didn't run far before she was caught by the saber-toothed tiger. I took the opportunity to escape with my battle beast." Wang Chao looked like he understood. He didn't press further, but secretly whispered in Lin Shure's ear, "Number 2, you're famous in the base now." Lin Shure gave a wry smile and nodded. "I found out on the way here." Along the way, every soldier who saw him stopped to salute. Besides the high-ranking officers and base leaders, who else received such an honor? Actually, it feels pretty good. Lin Shure touched his nose. He had achieved his goal while maintaining a good relationship with his superiors. He was very satisfied with this result. At this moment, a few more people walked out of the main gate. Lin Tianrui, wearing a military overcoat, came out with a few officers to greet Lin Shure. "Comrade Li Heo, long time no see." Lin Tianrui extended his right hand toward Lin Shure. This was the first time Lin Shure had been this close to this mysterious leader. The first thing that caught Lin Shure's attention was Lin Tianrui's tall stature. Lin Shure used to be about 1.8 meters tall. After unlocking the third stage of his gene lock, his height had increased to 1.9 meters. But even at that height, standing in front of Lin Tianrui, he still had to look up to meet his eyes. Lin Tianrui had an extremely tall and strong build, exuding an aura as steady as Mount Tai. What was most impressive were Lin Tianrui's eyes. One was perfect, the other was blind, giving him a sharp, strange look. Lin Shure reached out and shook Lin Tianrui's hand firmly. The handshake was neither forced nor overly polite. Lin Tianrui got straight to the point. "Comrade number 2, you're here to claim your reward, right? All right, since you're here, come in and sit down." Lin Shure thought for a moment and said, "My battle pet has to come with me." Hearing this, everyone fell silent, looking at each other. From a distance, Lin Tianrui and the others had seen the Demon King. Now, Up close, the Demon King was even larger, exuding immense pressure and threat. And then there was the clouded leopard. Although smaller than the Demon King, it was clear it was a beast with extremely strong attack power. Bringing such a beast into the shelter was no different from letting a wolf into a sheep pen. Everyone looked at Lin Tianrui. Lin Tianrui lowered his head as if in thought, but he quickly looked up, smiled at Lin Shure, and said, "Comrade number 2's battle pet is truly majestic. It even makes my subordinates envious. I wonder if I could have the honor of petting it." Lin Tianrui was talking about the Demon King. Lin Shure understood his intention. He knew Lin Tianrui wanted to test if the Demon King was fierce. To bring the Demon King into the shelter, he had to show everyone it was obedient. Only then would they agree. He turned to look at the Demon King and nodded. Immediately, Lin Tianrui slowly approached the Demon King by himself. The officers accompanying Lin Tianrui were terrified when they saw this. Lin Tianrui was now the supreme leader of the shelter. If anything happened to him, the shelter would surely fall into chaos. They didn't dare to imagine the consequences. "Leader, Chief." Lin Tianrui waved his hand, reassuring them with a calm gaze. He walked step by step toward the Demon King. Arriving in front of it, Lin Tianrui smiled kindly and said to the Demon King, "Hello, I am the leader of this shelter. My name is Lin Tianrui. May I pet you?" The Demon King lowered its head to look at Lin Tianrui, its sharp, unusual eyes flashing with a glint of light. Except for Lin Shure, everyone here broke into a cold sweat for Lin Tianrui. Some had even prepared to unlock their gene locks to save him at any moment. Seeing Lin Tianrui's actions, Lin Shure was also very surprised. He realized this was the first time someone had spoken to the Demon King as an equal. The Demon King's head got closer and closer to Lin Tianrui, seriously assessing the human who dared to approach it. Finally, the Demon King tilted its head and gently brushed its tail against Lin Tianrui. Lin Tianrui petted the Demon King's thigh, a bright smile breaking through the sternness on his face. He nodded and said very sincerely to the Demon King, "Thank you." The Demon King turned its head, glanced at him with a proud look, as if to say, "Don't just thank me. I didn't even let you pet my head." After a period of observation, Lin Tianrui determined that this giant wolf had quite high intelligence. He even felt that this wolf could understand what he was saying. As for hostility or killing intent, he didn't feel any from the Demon King. Lin Tianrui turned back, looked at Lin Shure with admiration, and said, "Let's go. We'll talk inside. Your battle pet can come too. What's its name?" Lin Shure signaled for the Demon King to follow. "Its name is Demon King. He's my friend. A good friend, not bad. That name is also very domineering." The city gate opened, and Lin Shure, along with Wong Leong, led the Demon King into the shelter. As for the clouded leopard, Lin Shure let it wander on its own. Entering the city, the area originally used for distributing supplies now had many tents and temporary sheds. There were quite a few soldiers patrolling and guarding. Some survivors were gathered together, processing beast corpses, making handicrafts, or crafting items. Seeing Lin Shure's questioning gaze, Lin Tianrui explained, "The beast tide came too suddenly before, so only the survivors who came to receive supplies were allowed to stay here. This beast tide made us decide to accept the survivors of Sha City into the shelter. But it's not for free. They have to complete assigned tasks to get in. Otherwise, it would be unfair to those who are already here. We will implement a work system for the survivors in the shelter, letting them work for food and supplies. These soldiers are here to maintain order and prevent." Lin Tianrui hadn't finished his sentence when a commotion suddenly broke out in the crowd. Immediately, a tragic scream and several cries rang out. Lin Shure looked over and saw a survivor processing a beast corpse with his chest pierced, falling down in a pool of blood. The cries came from the people around him. Lin Tianrui's eyes turned cold. He continued, "Prevent people from taking advantage of loopholes. Processing mutated beast meat is one of the tasks to join the shelter. But among those doing this work, there are frequent incidents of stealing food. So we issued a regulation. Anyone caught stealing will be killed on the spot. Even with such a cruel measure, there are still 1 or 2 such people every day. I hope Brotherly won't laugh at us." Lin Shure nodded. In the apocalypse, for a bite to eat, people can reveal the ugliest side of their nature. Sha City was the best shelter he knew of for survivors. This place distributed food once every 7 days. In other places, they would probably have to eat grass and trees. These people stealing mutated beast meat weren't about to starve to death. It was the rumor that eating mutated beast meat could lead to evolution that was spreading among the survivors. Therefore, some people were willing to risk their lives for a chance to evolve. Lin Shure didn't look any further. Soon after, Lin Tianrui led him to the entrance of the inner city area. This was the first time Lin Shure had entered the inner city of the shelter. Previously, when receiving supplies, he was only allowed in the outer city. Entering the inner city, Lin Shure was stunned by the architecture here. Before him was a giant circular structure. The architecture was similar to the round houses of the Hakka people, only much larger than any he had seen online. This structure was taller than the city walls. There were no windows on the outside, only a few large doors. Lin Shure initially thought it was still the city wall inside, but he didn't expect such a structure. Well, does it look strange? Lin Tianrui introduced. This is a shelter we modeled after the roundhouse architecture of a minority ethnic group. The outer wall is built with extremely thick, cold-resistant materials. Thanks to that, it can effectively block the cold wind and is incredibly sturdy. Even a super snowstorm is no problem. The inner wall is a bit thinner. This roundhouse has 6 floors above ground and 3 floors below. Each floor has over 2,000 small rooms, accommodating a total of 50,000 people. There's also a bomb shelter at the very bottom. We've currently dug 10 meters down and will continue to dig deeper in the future to provide more living space for survivors. If the climate on the surface continues to worsen, we can move everyone underground. This is a shelter built based on the model of a final human settlement. The passage was very long, with an officer leading the way with a flashlight. Lin Tianrui introduced the situation of the shelter to Lin Shure as they walked. A few minutes later, they emerged from the tunnel and arrived at the center of the roundhouse. The center of the roundhouse was a large open space the size of a stadium. On the open ground were a few small, ordinary-looking buildings. Those were the residences of the officers and some important scientists. Our dormitory is also there, Lin Tianrui said. Besides the buildings Lin Tianrui just mentioned, there was a lot of empty space on the open ground. At this time, many people were strolling in the square or exercising. There were even children playing and building snowmen. Compared to the outside world, this place was more like the world before the apocalypse. If there weren't so many beasts outside, and everyone lived here, even if the conditions were a bit tougher, it would be no different from living in a paradise. Lin Shure turned his head and looked behind the roundhouse. Countless windows came into view, so many they were impossible to count. Each floor of the roundhouse had a corridor, and on the corridors, people were coming and going. Just then, someone saw the Demon King coming out of the tunnel and screamed in fear. Immediately, soldiers ran over to calm everyone down, saying it was Li Erheo's battle beast. But even so, everyone in the square immediately dispersed, running into the roundhouse. Even the braver ones only dared to run up to the upper floors and look down from the railings. Lin Tianrui laughed heartily, looked at the Demon King, and said, "Demon King, if you come here often in the future, these survivors won't be afraid of you anymore." Lin Tianrui seemed to really like the Demon King, always chatting with it, as if making small talk. The Demon King turned its head and glanced at those foolish humans, a look of contempt on its face. This scene made Lin Tianrui laugh heartily again. Lin Shure understood. Lin Tianrui really liked the Demon King. This man was the nominal leader of this shelter. Although he appeared stern and unapproachable, in reality, he was not only friendly but also very spontaneous, even a bit playful. Of course, Lin Shure knew this was just the side Lin Tianrui wanted to show him. If this man were really that simple, he wouldn't have become the leader of the largest shelter in Xia country. But from what Lin Tianrui showed, his personal charm was undoubtedly very strong. Let's go inside. Lin Tianrui led Lin Shure into the building in the middle of the square. The Demon King was too big, so it had to stay in the square. Lin Shure gave the Demon King a few instructions, then followed Lin Tianrui inside. After Lin Tianrui and Lin Shure left, the officers and soldiers who stayed behind to watch the Demon King were a little worried. Even though they had brought the Demon King in, they still had to keep an eye on it, afraid that without Lin Shure, this fierce beast would go crazy. The Demon King just gave them a disdainful glance, then lay down on the ground and leisurely stood up. Inside the office, Lin Tianrui said to Wang Chao, who was standing by, "Little Chao, go to the Science Institute and get all the gene pills made in the last 2 days." Wang Chao nodded and left. "Comrade number 2, please sit." Lin Shure sat down on the sofa. Lin Tianrui sat opposite him and said, "Comrade number 2, Wang Chao has already told you about our recruitment offer, right?" Lin Shure nodded and slowly replied, "He did." Lin Tianrui's expression turned serious. He stood up. "I'm a straightforward person, so I'll be direct. I value you and your comrade. I hope you will join us. If you have any requests, just say them. As long as I can do it, I will grant it." Lin Shure frowned. "I've already said, I need to consider it. I haven't decided yet." Lin Tianrui stood up, locked the door securely, and then sat down, crossing his arms. He sighed. "Actually, we are facing a very great threat. If this continues, the people of Xia country might very well disappear from the map of Blue Star." A dozen minutes later, Wang Chao returned, carrying a box. "Chief, this is all the Institute can spare for now." Putting down the tea and ashtray, Wang Chao opened the box. "That's it." Lin Tianrui seemed dissatisfied. Wang Chao gave a wry smile. "Chief, the last gene drug transaction already took most of our reserves. We've used up a lot in the past 2 days. Right now, even though we have many beast corpses, manufacturing also takes time." Inside the box, 500 gene pills were neatly arranged. Lin Shure glanced at them and said, "This is enough for now. That's all for this time. I have to go back before dark. Then I'll see Brother Li out." Lin Tianrui stood up. Wang Chao looked at Lin Tianrui in surprise, then at Lin Shure. In just a short time, the two were already calling each other brothers. Wang Chao still didn't understand what was going on, but Lin Shure and Lin Tianrui had already left the dormitory. The Demon King was still lying downstairs. It only stood up when it saw Lin Shure come out, walking to his side. Seeing Lin Shure come out, the soldiers and officers in charge of watching the Demon King all breathed a sigh of relief. The pressure the Demon King put on them was truly immense. Lin Shure nodded to Lin Tianrui. "Leader Lin, you're busy. No need to see me out." Lin Tianrui laughed heartily and patted Lin Shure's shoulder. "Let Wang Chao see you out then. Come visit often in the future. You need to pay more attention to the special agent matter." Lin Shure nodded, said goodbye to Lin Tianrui, and walked a few steps with the Demon King before suddenly stopping. Wang Chao asked, "What's wrong?" Lin Shure had told Wang Leong everything on the way to the shelter. When they arrived, Lin Shure said they met on the road, and he had saved Wang Leong and brought him here. The two had never met before and didn't recognize each other. This way, even if Wang Leong had a hard time getting a foothold in the shelter, at least he wouldn't be found by his enemies. After all, there was still a time bomb in the shelter, a member of that hidden clan. Just as Lin Shure and Lin Tianrui entered the building, Wang Chao came out from inside. Wang Chao came up to Wang Leong and said, "You're the one Li Erheo saved on the road, right? Follow me." Wang Leong said nothing, just nodded, then glanced gratefully toward the corridor where Lin Shure had entered before following Wang Chao. Because he was brought by Lin Shure, Wang Chao naturally didn't treat him like the other survivors, sending him to the outer city to work. Instead, he directly found him a room to stay in. Because he had other matters to attend to, after registering Wang Liang's information, Wang Chao had someone take him to his room. Wang Liang followed a soldier to the round building. The soldier's name was Chun Gao, an old soldier in the team. Chun Gao introduced the rules of the shelter to Wang Liang as they walked. "From now on, you'll be in room 976, on the 3rd floor. The shelter has rules set by the commander. Normally, you can't steal, kill, commit arson, or harass women. For minor offenses, you'll be kicked out. For serious ones, you'll be killed on the spot. You must remember this," Chun Gao said seriously. Wang Liang nodded repeatedly. "The shelter doesn't support idle people. Even if you're young, you have to work. The current policy of the shelter gives priority to children under 18. Adults need to earn 8 work points a day to exchange for food. Children or the elderly over 60 only need 4 points. The most important thing is, if you don't know anyone in the shelter, absolutely do not trust others. Although this place has rules and we patrol to maintain security, It's not uncommon to find a stiff corpse in the corridor in the morning. Some people even die mysteriously in their own rooms. You're young. At night, when you sleep, absolutely do not open the door for others. Understand? Times are different. If you trust people like before, you'll die easily. Wong Leong had lived outside the shelter with Qin Xiaodong and understood human nature better. He knew this soldier was kind-hearted and nodded vigorously. I know. Thank you, uncle. Seeing Wong Leong was obedient, Chun Gao smiled with satisfaction. Even soldiers with strong wills like them. After the apocalypse, people's hearts had gradually grown cold. If he hadn't seen that Wong Leong was still a child, he wouldn't have said so much. The two quickly arrived at room 976. This room is for 2 people. You're the first one. There's still an empty spot. Someone might move in at any time. Chun Gao opened the door with a key. The room was dark, only about 4 or 5 square meters, very cramped. In the room was a simple bed less than a meter wide, and a chamber pot. Nothing else. The room had a small ventilation window. A normal person couldn't climb in, but it helped with ventilation. Wong Leong was very satisfied and thanked him again. Qin Gao left the key for Wong Leong and left. After leaving room 976, Qin Gao was walking through the corridor when he met someone coming from the opposite direction. He was slightly stunned, then stood up straight and saluted. Ma'am. Qin Shuang was pushing a wheelchair she had found somewhere, coming from the opposite corridor. After returning to the shelter yesterday, Lin Tianrui had restored Qin Shuang's officer rank. But he didn't let her be the captain of the evolved team anymore, but the assistant captain. Yesterday, when Qin Shuang had just returned to the shelter, a not-so-small incident occurred. Qin Gao still felt a lingering fear when he recalled it. Seeing Qin Gao, Qin Shuang just nodded indifferently and passed by. She quickly arrived at room 977 and opened the door with a key. The moment the door opened, a thick smell of blood hit her nose. On the small bed in the room lay a person. The light was dim. Standing at the door, Qin Shuang couldn't see the person clearly. Qin Shuang pushed the wheelchair to the bed and said to the person on it, I'm taking you to change your bandages. The person on the bed didn't react, not even moving. Only the slight rise and fall of the blanket showed that the person was still alive. Qin Shuang didn't wait for the person to answer and directly grabbed their hand. The small hand showed it was a woman, but her wrist was wrapped in thick bandages, with blood seeping through. It was a frightening sight. Ugh! The person on the bed cried out in fear when Qin Shuang grabbed her hand, her legs kicking wildly, even kicking the blanket to the floor. It seemed this person couldn't speak, only making such short, urgent sounds. Qin Shuang held the woman's hand tightly and said, It's me. Seemingly sensing no danger, the woman calmed down. Qin Shuang let go of her hand, helped the woman up, dressed her, and then lifted her into the wheelchair. The woman didn't resist, letting Qin Shuang wrap a scarf around her neck. Qin Shuang pushed the wheelchair out of the room, carefully went downstairs, and pushed it toward the row of houses in the large courtyard. The sunlight illuminated the face of the woman in the wheelchair. Her once beautiful face was now pale, with bandages wrapped around her eyes, faint bloodstains still visible on them. Although the bandages covered more than half of her face, Lin Shure, who had just come downstairs from Lin Tianrui's office, recognized her immediately. The woman sitting in the wheelchair was his former foster mother. Li, what's wrong? Wang Chao saw Lin Shure stop. Grr. Only the Demon King sensed Lin Shure's emotions and let out a threatening growl. This made the soldiers, officers, and even Wang Chao tense up. Qin Shuang didn't expect to meet Lin Shure here, especially with him bringing the Demon King into the shelter. Beside him were Lin Tianrui and Wang Chao. She was both surprised and proud of Lin Shure. Seeing Lin Shure looking at her, Qin Shuang naturally met his gaze. To avoid revealing herself in front of everyone, Qin Shuang just nodded slightly to greet Lin Shure. After all, they had fought together at the logistics warehouse yesterday. Then she pushed Lu Siyue toward the medical building in the courtyard. But before she had gone a few steps, she saw Lin Shure walking toward her. Qin Shuang was a little surprised. Lin Shure walked straight toward Lu Siyue. Knowing that Lu Siyue was the one who had caused Lin Mingjin's death, he was filled with killing intent toward this woman. Although Lin Mingjin wasn't his biological father, he had always been very good to him since he was a child. But Lu Siyue, to put it nicely, she was good, but it was more accurate to say she was just using him. No wonder whenever Lin Mingjin was away from home, Lu Siyue would show a different face. No wonder after the apocalypse, when Lu Siyue became the wife of the director of the Haisher shelter, she didn't care about him at all. No wonder, when he found out Lin Mingjin's death wasn't an accident and told Lu Siyue about it, she looked at him with that kind of gaze. In his past life, all the clues were there to be found. Earlier, when he used his spiritual ability to see Lu Siyue imprisoned and tortured in the shelter, although Lin Shure said nothing, his heart was burning with anger. He just didn't expect the hidden clan to release her. Lu Siyue was released, so where is Chen Fanren? As Lin Shure walked toward Lu Siyue, Lin Tianrui, Wong Chao, and the others also followed. As Evolved who had served in the army for many years, they could all feel the killing intent radiating from Lin Shure. Thinking the killing intent was aimed at Qin Shuang, Lin Tianrui spoke up. Brotherly, is there some misunderstanding? Lin Shure stopped. The killing intent receded like a tide. Right, there are still people from the hidden clan in the shelter. If they see me getting close to Lu Siyue, won't my identity be exposed? Reigning in his killing intent, Lin Shure continued to walk toward Qin Shuang. As he walked, he said, "Isn't that beauty the one from the armory yesterday? I only realized when I got home that I borrowed a spear from her and haven't returned it. She must be trying to keep my spear." It was just a small matter, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Wong Chao immediately remembered that yesterday, after arriving at the armory, he saw Lin Shure and Qin Shuang standing very close. Moreover, at that time, Qin Shuang was indeed holding a spear. He said, "Maybe she forgot because of the urgent situation yesterday. Let me go ask." With that, he ran quickly toward Qin Shuang, while Lin Tianrui stopped Lin Shure to prevent a conflict between them. "Brotherly, it must be a misunderstanding. Just wait here. If Qin Shuang really took your spear, I will definitely make her return it and apologize to you." Actually, Lin Tianrui was still suspicious. Qin Shuang had been waiting in the shelter for over a month. Although she was young, her conduct was quite good. Plus, as a level 2 evolved, why would she covet a spear from Lin Shure? Lin Tianrui couldn't help but be suspicious. Wong Chao ran up behind Qin Shuang and relayed Lin Shure's words. Everyone saw Qin Shuang show a brief look of surprise, but she immediately understood, her expression changing to one of apology. She then pushed Lu Siyue toward Lin Shure. Seeing Lu Siyue coming toward him, Lin Shure's hands moved. Lu Siyue's eyes were injured, and he was wearing a mask, so she wouldn't recognize him. Only his voice was easily identifiable. But when talking to Wong Chao and the others, Lin Shure had deliberately lowered his voice. Plus, he hadn't seen Lu Siyue in many years, so it wouldn't be easy for her to recognize him. Thinking this, Lin Shure calmly watched Qin Shuang push Lu Siyue toward him. When Qin Shuang arrived in front of Lin Shure and the others, she said apologetically, "I'm so sorry. I borrowed your spear yesterday. Then someone from the army came to pick me up, so I forgot to return it. I was dealing with my injuries when I got home, and a few other things happened, so I completely forgot." After speaking, she stepped out from behind Lu Siyue and bowed deeply to Lin Shure to show her apology. Qin Shuang was very smart. She knew Lin Shure wasn't just randomly saying his spear was with her. She immediately played along. The way Wong Chao had put it also made sense, so she remembered this matter. Hearing this, Lin Tianrui and the others dispelled their suspicions. "Little Qin, then you should return the spear to Brotherly." Lin Tianrui said, "Leader, but my spear is at home. I have something to do right now." After speaking, Qin Shuang glanced at Lu Siyue. Her meaning was obvious. She wanted to take Lu Siyue to the hospital. Lin Tianrui frowned, then smiled brightly and said to Lin Shure, "Brotherly, how about I have the warehouse get you a few guns? Little Qin has to take her mother to the hospital. It's probably not convenient for her to go back and get it now. Tell me what kind of gun you have, and I'll have someone get it for you." Lin Shure heard the first half of Lin Tianrui's sentence clearly, but the second half was a blur. His eyes widened in disbelief. Lu Siyue is Qin Shuang's mother? How is that possible? He had personally seen Qin Shuang kill her parents. Could it be that couple wasn't Qin Shuang's biological parents? Lin Shure's expression changed. If not for the mask, his abnormality would have been discovered. Fortunately, the expression was fleeting and was quickly suppressed by Lin Shure. Everyone was watching how Lin Tianrui would handle it, so no one noticed Lin Shure's strangeness. After calming down, Lin Shure looked at Lu Siyue again, then at Qin Shuang. His heart was in turmoil, but he still said coldly, "I hate it most when people lie to me. Forget it. Take your mother to the doctor." "She's blind, isn't she?" Qin Shuang looked at Lin Shure gratefully, then looked at Lu Siyue and said, "Not just her eyes, her ears, and the tendons in her hands are all." Wang Chao suddenly interrupted. "Qin Shuang, since you want to take your aunt to the hospital, then hurry up. There are a lot of injured people these days. The line will be long soon." Qin Shuang smiled apologetically and nodded. "Right, I'll take her to the clinic first. I'm sorry. If you can wait, please wait for me to come back and return the gun." Lin Shure's eyes flickered. He nodded and said to Lin Tianrui, "I'll wait for her here." "Sorry to trouble you, Leader Lin." Lin Tianrui smiled. It's fine. Brotherly, come to my office for a bit. I'll make you a pot of my favorite hot tea." Lin Shure nodded, told the Demon King to wait downstairs, and then returned to Lin Tianrui's office with him. The two sat and drank tea for a while. Over an hour later, a knock came from the office door. "Leader, may I come in?" Qin Shuang's voice came from outside. "Come in." Qin Shuang opened the door and entered. "Chief." She saluted Lin Tianrui. Qin Shuang handed Lin Shure a very carefully wrapped pistol. "I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting. This is your pistol." Lin Shure took it. Lin Tianrui smiled and asked from the side, "What kind of pistol makes Brotherly so anxious? Can I see it?" Lin Shure nodded without hesitation. "Of course." Unwrapping the coarse cloth Qin Shuang used to wrap the gun revealed an old Type 54 pistol. It looked old, and the grip was slightly worn. It wasn't the type of pistol currently issued by the army. It had to be said, Qin Shuang was very smart. Knowing Lin Shure needed a pistol, she had found one collected from before. Although it was a bit old, Lin Tianrui finally dismissed all his suspicions. He pointed at Qin Shuang and said with a smile, "Don't just casually give your gun to people next time. This gun has been used for a long time, so there's an attachment to it. No wonder Brotherly cares so much." Qin Shuang lowered her head, slightly embarrassed. "Chief, it was my fault this time. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." "Go on," Lin Tianrui replied. Lin Shure also stood up and said, "It's getting late, and I've got my gun. I'm heading back." His purpose achieved, it was time to return. If he guessed correctly, there must be something inside the pistol that Qin Shuang had prepared for him. Hearing this, Lin Tianrui said a few polite words and then watched Lin Shure leave the shelter. As Lin Shure left, he immediately activated his gene lock and scanned the entire shelter with his spiritual ability. He didn't see any sign of Chen Fanren. The two previous prison cells were also empty, cleaned out. What on earth had happened in the last 2 days to connect Qin Shuang and Lu Siyue? Lin Shure knew Qin Shuang would give him the answer. Although he didn't find Chen Fanren, he did find Qi Yun. As expected, he was discovered by Qi Yun again. This time, Qi Yun was injured. Lin Shure used the spiritual power attack technique he learned from Qi Yun and hit him hard. Of course, Qi Yun was already weak, and his spiritual power was lower than Lin Shure's. He immediately passed out. But this terrified Qi Yi, Qi San, and Qi Qi who were beside him. Through the spiritual power feedback, Lin Shure knew that this attack hadn't caused any life-threatening injuries to Qi Yun. Earlier, saying he would come here to kill Qi Yun was just to scare Qi Wu. Although the probability of killing him now was quite high, he knew he would be discovered. Exposing himself to kill one Qi Yun, when there was an entire hidden clan behind him. Right now, the enemy was strong and he was weak. This was the time to accumulate strength. What he needed most was not to kill Qi Yun and expose his identity, but to become stronger himself. In the future, he would crush anyone who could threaten him. Of course, even though he didn't kill Qi Yun, Lin Shure's spiritual power attack just now was not held back. Even if it didn't damage Qi Yun's spiritual power, it was enough to make him uncomfortable for a long time. After visiting Qi Yun, Lin Shure and the Demon King quickly left the shelter. Wang Chao saw Lin Shure out of the shelter. It was already getting dark. Riding the Demon King, it immediately galloped at its fastest speed. In less than half an hour, the man and dog had reached Shijiao. Entering the city, Lin Shure glanced at his watch. 3:11. It was almost completely dark, with only a faint bit of light left. The surroundings were dim. Lin Shure felt something was wrong. He and the Demon King could both see clearly at night, unaffected by the light. What made Lin Shure suspicious was that even though it was now autumn, it usually didn't get this dark until 3:40 p.m. This season, the weather was often abnormal. It could only be hail or a snowstorm. Demon King, run faster. The weather's about to change. Hearing this, the Demon King's red and pink eyes flashed, and its speed increased by several notches. Sure enough, Lin Shure's guess was right. Just 3 minutes later, Lin Shure heard a faint rustling sound. It was hail. At the Demon King's speed, they were only about 5 minutes away from Wulong village. But it was clearly too late to turn back now. Lin Shure glanced around and had the Demon King jump onto the balcony of a building about a dozen meters away. The balcony was over 3 meters high, and the Demon King easily jumped up. Not long after, hailstones of various sizes fell from the sky, straight down. This hailstorm was bigger than the last one, with some stones as big as a human head. Even with a helmet, getting hit would cause a concussion. Woof! The Demon King let out a soft bark, looking around the room, as if asking Lin Shure what to do now. Spend the night here. The floor-to-ceiling window of this room was broken. There were many old bloodstains in the room, and it was a mess, indicating it had been attacked by beasts before. On the living room floor, there was even beast feces and urine. Any usable items had been completely scavenged. The Demon King was clearly disgusted. Lin Shure smiled and patted its head. The hail won't last long. We'll go back after waiting a bit. Only then did the Demon King happily stand up. The hailstones fell with a loud rumble, and the originally flat snow-covered ground was quickly pitted with uneven holes. The Demon King seemed very curious about the hail. It stretched its body out from the balcony, catching the ice blocks. After catching them, it even licked them. Then it used its claws to reach out from the balcony and play whack-a-mole with the hailstones. The man and dog waited for over half an hour. After confirming the hail had stopped, Lin Shure and the Demon King jumped down from the balcony and returned to the ground. It was completely dark now. The extreme cold of the night came early and was very, without a light, it was almost impossible to see anything. After dark, the temperature suddenly dropped below -60 degrees. But this didn't affect Lin Shure and the Demon King much. Lin Shure turned and jumped onto the Demon King's back. Let's go home. Not long after, the man and dog were back on the mountain. Storing the Demon King in his space, Lin Shure returned to the safe room, started the generator, turned on the lights and heater, and took off his equipment. Lin Shure relaxed on the sofa and took out the pistol Qin Shuang had given him. A second later, he had disassembled the entire pistol. In just a moment, the pistol was a pile of large and small parts, and Lin Shure also found a very thin piece of paper among the components. Unfolding it, he saw tiny characters, like beans. Qin Shuang's handwriting was very delicate. Through these small characters, Lin Shure quickly learned what had happened between Lu Siyue and Qin Shuang. Yesterday, Qin Shuang and the soldiers returned to the shelter and were taken directly to the hospital to treat their wounds. Afterwards, she was allowed to rest and wait for orders from the military to recover. After leaving the hospital, Qin Shuang returned to her quarters to rest for a while before going to eat. In the shelter, soldiers were provided with full meals, all cooked food. Evolved were treated the same. Each meal had a fixed time for collection. Although it was afternoon, they were getting dinner. The shelter didn't turn on lights during the day to save electricity. Qin Shuang went to the window for Evolved, got her food, and on her way back, she saw a disguised Chi-Chi. Why is this person here? Although Chi-Chi was disguised, Qin Shuang had a knack for recognizing people. Especially since he had just teased her this afternoon, she remembered this fat guy even more clearly. Moreover, because he was injured, Chi-Chi didn't have Chi-Wu to give him a perfect disguise today, so Qin Shuang recognized him. At that time, Chi-Chi was also holding a bowl of food, which was even worse than the porridge in the canteen. On the way back, Qin Shuang had heard others talk about Qi Yun and his group. She wondered, Qi Yun is the young master of a hidden clan. Why would he eat this? What is Chi-Chi's bowl for? Qin Shuang felt something was wrong, so she threw her bowl on the ground and followed him. She followed Chi-Chi to the 5th floor of the round building and saw him enter a room. Chi-Chi was deliberately avoiding people, acting sneaky, which made Qin Shuang even more curious. There was no one in the corridor at this time. Most people were either in their rooms or having dinner. Qin Shuang pretended nothing was wrong, went to the door of Chi-Chi's room, leaned against the wall pretending to rest, and listened in. Inside the room, Chi-Chi looked at the two people lying on the bed, his face gaunt and filled with disgust. If they hadn't found the person they were looking for yet, these two flies would have been dead long ago. Chen Fanren and Lu Xiyue were still alive, but they looked like two living corpses, pale and sallow, their eyes lifeless. Anyone tied to a bed, unable to move, eating and sleeping like that, and being beaten for so long, would break down. Chi-Chi first held down Chen Fanren, gagged him, and then removed the cloth from his mouth, pouring more than half a bowl of porridge into his mouth. Chen Fanren was like a starving man, gulping it down in large mouthfuls. Because Chi-Chi poured too quickly, a lot of porridge spilled down the corners of his mouth, looking very pathetic. Who would have thought that the once mighty Chen Fanren would end up like this one day? Chi-Chi poured more than half the bowl and then gagged him again, looking at Chen Fanren's near-death state. Chi-Chi, who was already annoyed from being injured and having to feed these two, sneered. Just like an animal. Huh? I'm feeding you, and you don't even know how to be obedient. Only then did Chen Fanren show an expression, his eyes wide with humiliation, resentment, and hatred. All sorts of emotions. The former vice leader of the Tianqi shelter had become like this because he offended a hidden clan. Chen Fanren regretted it to his core. For someone like him who was used to a comfortable life, this was worse than death. Ugh, kill me. Chen Fanren, with his mouth tied, made a sound of wanting to die. So obedient. A second later, Chi-Chi punched Chen Fanren in the stomach. Chen Fanren cried out in pain, his eyes bloodshot. Don't scream, or I'll tear your flesh off and feed it to you, Chi-Chi said fiercely. Only then did Chen Fanren fall silent. Lu Xiyue next to him was so scared she was crying silently. What are you crying for? Eat. Chi-Chi untied the rope gagging Lu Xiyue, grabbed her hair, and poured the rest of the bowl into her mouth. Lu Xiyue, with tears in her eyes, swallowed in large gulps. Even if she choked, she didn't dare to spit it out. She couldn't bear the consequences. After that meal, seeing Chi-Chi turn to leave, Chen Fanren and Lu Xiyue both breathed a sigh of relief. Who knew? Chi-Chi suddenly remembered something, turned back with a sinister smile. Oh right, I forgot to bring water today. Luckily I have some. Consider it a reward for you. After speaking, he took the empty bowl and turned away. Hearing the sound of water being poured, both of them showed looks of horror. Qin Shuang, who was eavesdropping by the door, was unaware of someone approaching. Only when a shadow fell over her did she get a shock. Mui Buyu had just brought food up from the canteen to the 5th floor. Seeing Qin Shuang leaning against his door, he approached with interest. Seeing it was a pretty girl, he grinned lecherously. Hey pretty lady, here to see me? Good timing. The rooms here were very close together. The spot Qin Shuang was leaning against was right between Chi-Chi's room and Mui Buyu's room. So, Mui Buyu mistakenly thought Qin Shuang was there for him. Mui Buyu was a new evolved in the shelter. With his status as an evolved, he was surrounded by many women and enjoyed a lot of pleasure. Qin Shuang had been on the icebreaker for over a month, so Mui Buyu didn't recognize her. Seeing her leaning against his door, he thought she was waiting for him. Hearing Mui Buyu speak, Qin Shuang was startled, thinking, oh no. Sure enough, a second later, the door opened. Qin Shuang quickly turned away so Chi-Chi wouldn't see her face. It was too late to run. Could she explain she was just passing by? In a pinch, Qin Shuang came up with a plan. She softened her voice and said to Mui Buyu in a tone that would give one goosebumps, I've been waiting for you for so long. Why are you so late? Chi-Chi heard the noise from inside the room. Seeing someone at the door, his killing intent rose. But seeing it was Mui Buyu with a woman, he reined it in. Chi-Chi and his group had thoroughly investigated the surrounding area and knew what kind of person Mui Buyu was. This guy used his evolved status to trick women all day. He was the type of person who didn't need much vigilance. At this moment, the lecherous Mui Buyu said to Qin Shuang, I went to get food, and you couldn't wait? If I don't eat my fill, how will I have the energy to exercise? Hearing this, Chi-Chi had no suspicions, locked the door, and quickly left. Qin Shuang and Mui Buyu continued to chat for a few more sentences. After making sure Chi-Chi was gone, She breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately, a murderous look appeared on her face. She looked at Mui Buyu. What did you just say? You want me to go into your room? Mui Buyu nodded repeatedly. Yes, pretty lady. Let's go into the room. Qin Shuang nodded, clenched her fist. Is breaking a door a reasonable excuse for someone to harass me? Qin Shuang used her uninjured arm, grabbed Mui Buyu by the collar, and with lightning speed, threw him hard. She slammed Mui Buyu into the door that Chi had just left. Bang! The sound of the door breaking and Mui Buyu's pained cry rang out at the same time. In the room, Chun Fanren and Lu Xiyue heard the noise and turned to look at the door. The sound of the door breaking was very loud. The patrol team immediately rushed over. Mui Buyu was about to complain, but when the patrol soldiers saw Qin Shuang, they quickly bowed. Ma'am, what happened? Many people on this floor opened their doors to look, but no one dared to meddle in other people's business. At this point in the apocalypse, who would dare to be nosy? To Mui Buyu's astonishment, Qin Shuang, her face full of killing intent, pointed at him and said, This man harassed me. He wanted me to go to his room, so I broke his door. Ugh! Before Mui Buyu could explain, a tragic cry came from inside the room. A curious patrol soldier stepped inside and immediately saw Chen Fanren and Lu Xiyue tied to the bed. What's going on here? Who are these two? The situation developed beyond Qin Shuang's expectations. Chen Fanren and Lu Xiyue were quickly untied. When she saw Lu Xiyue in the crowd, Qin Shuang's eyes momentarily lost focus. Why is she here? Qin Shuang initially thought some hidden clan member was up to no good in the room and wanted to expose them. She didn't expect it to be two imprisoned people, one of whom was Lu Xiyue. A patrol soldier asked about the identity of the two. Chen Fanren, in his tattered state, hesitated whether to speak. Just then, Wang Chao and two other officers rushed over. After arriving at the scene, an officer asked about the situation, then realized Chen Fanren looked familiar. What happened? Isn't this? Chen Fanren knew he couldn't hide it anymore and had to confess. I am the vice leader of the Tianqi stronghold. Someone captured and imprisoned me here. I hope you will let us go. Knowing how terrifying the hidden clans were, Chen Fanren wanted nothing more to do with them. He just wanted to leave quickly. What? Wang Chao asked with a serious face. A survivor watching the commotion from the side suddenly spoke up. The Tianqi stronghold? Wasn't it destroyed by the beast tide? What? Beast tide? Destroyed. Chen Fanren heard this, looked at the person, and was extremely agitated. The patrol soldier recounted the story of the beast tide attack. Chen Fanren never expected that after being gone for just a few days, his base in Sha City would be lost. He had done a series of things, and in the end, not only was he tortured, but he also lost everything. Overwhelmed with emotion, Chen Fanren fainted and collapsed. If there was a medicine for regret, Chen Fanren would definitely have stayed far away from Lin Shure and the hidden clans. At this point, no one cared about the small matter between Qin Shuang and Mui Buyu. Wang Chao realized the seriousness of the problem. Someone had been captured within the stronghold, the vice leader of Tianqi before the beast tide. Wang Chao had the soldiers wake Chen Fanren up, then asked about Lu Xiyue's situation. Oui. The days of intimidation and abuse made Lu Xiyue stutter, unable to speak. Wang Chao then ordered the soldiers, take these two to the interrogation room. Yes. The patrol soldiers supported Chen Fanren and Lu Xiyue to the interrogation room. Qin Shuang was about to follow, but was stopped by Wang Chao. You're still injured. Go back and rest. Qin Shuang said, Sir, I happened to discover these two. Can I come along for the interrogation? Wang Chao allowed it. Qin Shuang went with them, but before they reached the interrogation room, they were blocked by a group of people. What are you trying to do? Qi Yin led his injured subordinates, blocking Wang Chao's path. Wang Chao frowned and stepped forward. We found two suspicious individuals and are taking them for questioning. This has nothing to do with young Master Qi. Please step aside. Qi Yin looked at Chen Fanren and Lu Xiyue being escorted by the soldiers, his cold gaze sweeping over Qi like he was looking at a dead man. Immediately after, Qi Yin said something that made everyone's expression change. I'm the one who captured those two. Qi lowered his head, his face pale. He looked terrified, his hands trembling. Wang Chao frowned. May I know why young Master Qi captured these two? Captured? Chi Yun laughed as if he had heard a joke, but his expression was not good. I didn't capture them. They came to my door themselves. Captain Wong, do you remember I came to the shelter to find someone? Wang Chao nodded, waiting for Chi Yun to continue. Chi Yun recounted how Chun Fanrin and Lu Siyue had impersonated the person he was looking for. I hate being deceived the most, so I locked them up. Anyway, they're not your subordinates. Why do I need your interference? Chi Yun saw Lu Siyue's terrified expression, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. He had originally planned to let them live a little longer, but since they were discovered, he had to deal with them now. Wang Chao heard this and looked at the unconscious Chun Fanrin and the terrified Lu Siyue. If that was the case, he couldn't just take the two of them. What if they held some secrets of the hidden clans? If he forcibly took them, it would be like confronting Chi Yun, which went against Lin Tianrui's order not to offend the hidden clans. Don't let him take me. Lu Siyue realized Wang Chao was about to hand them over to Chi Yun. Despite her fear, she cried out for help. They're demons. They're not human. Don't hand me over to them. Qin Shuang was also quite agitated. Although she hated Lu Siyue, seeing her tortured like this filled her heart with anger and pain. After a moment of thought, Wang Chao said, in that case, no. Qin Shuang cut him off. If Qi Yun took Lu Siyue away, Qin Shuang felt she would never see this woman again in her life. Everyone looked at Qin Shuang. Qi Wu, standing behind Qi Yun, had a fierce look in her eyes. Are you trying to oppose our hidden clan? Wang Chao signaled for Qin Shuang to stop talking. No one knew why Qin Shuang suddenly spoke up. Qin Shuang's eyes showed intense conflict. Finally, she clenched her fists, stood beside Lu Siyue, and said, she is my mother. I won't let anyone take her away. Besides Qi Yun's group, everyone else, including Lu Siyue, looked at Qin Shuang in astonishment. An officer shouted, Qin Shuang, what are you talking about? Qin Shuang bit her lip, her voice clearer and more determined this time. She is my mother. Her name is Lu Siyue. My name is Lu Shuang. After Qin Shuang finished speaking, everyone was stunned. The most shocked person here was not Qi Yun and his group, nor Wang Chao and the soldiers, but Lu Siyue. Sheltered behind Qin Shuang, the name Lu Shuang awakened a memory that had been dormant for decades in Lu Siyue. You Shuang? Lu Siyue asked in a daze, her voice full of disbelief. She had even forgotten she once had a daughter. Qin Shuang turned back, her gaze complicated as she looked at Lu Siyue, but she said nothing. She hated this woman, but this woman had given her life, had given her a short but happy childhood. She couldn't watch Lu Siyue die. TSK, what kind of drama is this? Qi Yun clicked his tongue twice, his face cold. I don't care who those two are, and I don't care who you are. No one is taking those two away. Qi Yun's meaning was clear. If they wanted to take them, they had to go through him. Therefore, the soldiers would have to clash with Qi Yun's group. Wang Chao stopped an officer who was about to scold Qin Shuang. He said with a serious expression to Qin Shuang, think carefully. Is this person really your relative? Qin Shuang bit her lip and slowly drew a dagger from her waist. A murderous aura emanated from Qi Yun's group. Unexpectedly, Qin Shuang said, you say she knows some secret of yours. Then I'll make it so she can't speak anymore. Can you spare her life? Lin Shure finished reading the letter Qin Shuang wrote and fell silent. So, Qin Shuang and Lu Siyue were mother and daughter. She had been abandoned by Lu Siyue as a child and lived with others. This girl, Qin Shuang, was more ruthless than he imagined. In the letter, Qin Shuang recounted how she had cut out Lu Siyue's tongue and severed the tendons in her hands so she could no longer speak. But Qi Yun was still not satisfied. He ordered his men to make Lu Siyue deaf and blind before finally letting her go. As for Chun Fanrin, he was taken away by Qi Yun. That was the entire content of the letter Qin Shuang wrote. Concise, but very clear. No wonder he didn't see Chun Fanrin in the shelter today. Chun Fanrin must have been dealt with by Qi Yun. Lin Shure reassembled the gun, stood up, and threw the letter into the heater to burn. The letter quickly turned to ash in the heater, just like Lin Shure's hatred. Knowing that from now on, Lu Siyue would have to live a life worse than death, Lin Shure's hatred for her suddenly subsided. What could be more painful than a person who couldn't hear, see, or speak, and couldn't even hold a pen, living forever in darkness and silence. In such a state, even the most optimistic person would go mad. He didn't know if Qin Shuang acted out of motherly love to keep that woman alive, or out of hatred to seek revenge. Perhaps it was both. Lin Shure silently and sincerely wished Lu Siyue a long life. It would be better if she didn't die too quickly. He smirked, thinking how cruel he was. As for Chen Fanren, he probably didn't die peacefully. Thinking of the feud between Chen Fanren and Lu Siyue that had spanned lifetimes, and now finally seeing his enemy receive the fate he desired, Lin Shure felt a weight lift from his heart. He took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. It was as if a mental shackle that had bound him for so long had been broken. A sense of peace, as if his soul was ascending, filled his mind. A warm sensation spread throughout his head, as if he were soaking in warm water. Is this the pleasure of getting revenge? Lin Shure's eyes widened, enjoying this pleasant sensation. A second later, the origin power in his body suddenly boiled, surging endlessly. A continuous stream of strengthening power filled his entire body. Lin Shure was both happy and scared. This familiar feeling, it was a breakthrough. But this morning, his spiritual power was still short by 75 points. With no time to think, Lin Shure's vision went black. Just like the first breakthrough, he fainted again. The only difference was that this time, because the breakthrough was so sudden, Lin Shure didn't fall onto the bed, but fell straight backward with a thud, instantly losing consciousness. Meanwhile, the Demon King, Giant Panda, Clouded Leopard, and the other beasts in the space were completely unaware. They were about to starve. He didn't know how long had passed. In the silent darkness, Lin Shure lay motionless on the ground. He suddenly frowned, then his eyes snapped open. The vigilance honed from the apocalypse helped Lin Shure quickly sit up and survey his surroundings. Seeing that he was still in the living room of the safe base, he breathed a sigh of relief. Currently, the safe base was pitch black. The gasoline in the generator had run out, causing a power outage. Lin Shure knew he must have been unconscious for a long time. He didn't bother with the power for now, but first checked the treasure gathering pot's personal interface. Host information: name, Lin Shure. Age, 20. Gender, male. Gene lock evolution level, stage 4. Origin power, 3,040 units. Spiritual power, 325 units. Haha, it really is stage 4. Overjoyed, Lin Shure couldn't help but jump up. But this jump almost hit the ceiling. Luckily, his reaction was fast, so he didn't actually hit it. He sat down and looked at the personal interface. His spiritual power had jumped by another 100 points. Before, his spiritual power was clearly 225 points, still 75 points short of a breakthrough. He immediately remembered the feeling of his soul ascending before he passed out. It must have been because he learned the news of his revenge that his spiritual power was sublimated, causing such a sharp increase. So, spiritual power didn't just grow through slow training. If one encountered a rapid change of events or resolved a long-standing obsession or wish, it could also increase spiritual power. Still in a happy mood, Lin Shure suppressed his eagerness to test the power of the 4th stage gene lock and first checked on the Demon King and the other beasts in the space. He was worried this coma had lasted for 3 days, or even longer. If so, the not yet fully tamed wolves might have gone crazy in the space. Lin Shure sent his consciousness into the space. After a brief survey of the situation, he quietly sighed in relief. In the space, including the Demon King, all the beasts were lying motionless on the ground. Although they looked like they had been hungry for a few meals, they weren't at the point of having green eyes. Lin Shure gently willed it, and 20 beast corpses were transferred from the vacuum space to the living space. Immediately, smelling the scent of blood and food, all the beasts rushed over like hungry tigers pouncing on their prey.